going on YouTube? This is ParkerLad88 coming at you with another video. And in this video, we are finally going to be doing an updated tier list video. Can you believe it's almost been a year since I made my last tier list video? But we wait no longer. So with all that being said, it's tier list time. So a couple of things before we get started, a couple of disclaimers, if you will. Number one, just like the last tier list video I did, this is going to be based off my own personal experience playing with the characters and against the characters. I will never claim to be a Power Rangers expert. I'm just a guy who enjoys playing Power Rangers, who has something to say about how good he thinks certain characters are relative to other characters. If you disagree with what I have to say, please be civil, don't be rude about it. You're more than welcome to leave it in the comments and start a big discussion about it. Or better yet, I encourage you to come here to tierlistmaker.com, make your own tier list, and, talk about why you think certain characters go, where they go compared to other characters, just like I'm doing right now. I can't guarantee that you will agree with me, but I can guarantee that I will give you a very thorough breakdown of why certain characters go where they go. I even have a little list right here of all the things for every single character that we're going to talk about. I'm mostly looking forward to this because even though it's fun to rate where characters go, it's just another opportunity to talk about, general character traits and stuff like that. So for people who are newer to the game or are still trying to figure out, how to play certain characters, this is just it'll be a generalized discussion of, how the characters work. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're going to talk about how characters do in the neutral. We're going to talk about how good are their buttons compared to other characters. We're going to talk about their movement, their ability to mix up the opponent, their generalized toolkit. We're going to talk about how well characters play well with others, basically how good are their assists, how well do they complement the team, are keys or characters easy to use, are they difficult to use, how much potential do certain characters have compared to other characters. And we're going to talk about how characters get that damage. What can they convert from? What's their killing potential? And how much resources do they have to dump into attempting to kill a character? So for every single character, we're going to talk about all those things. Now, let's go ahead and move into our brackets. As you can see here, we have S tier for the broken characters. We have A+ for the really good characters, A for the solid characters, B for the decent characters, and we have untiered for characters who we require a little bit more information on. Now, I do want to say that I will probably be doing an update to this towards the end of July for a number of reasons. Number one, with the latest patch that just came out, there's still some things with characters that I want to test out to see how it really impacts them, mostly Trini, RJ, things like that. And then also just because Ryu and Chun, they really haven't been out for that long, and I kind of want to see, after people have kind of had more time to play against Ryu and Chun, play with Ryu and Chun to see what they can figure out with them, to see where they really settle. So we're actually going to go ahead and move Ryu and Chun right here into untiered. Spoilers, there will be no untiered at the end of this video, but I want to save them for last. I want to focus on everybody else first. Now that all that is out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. So what character are we going to start with? I actually got some perspective from my last tier list video, and the first character we're going to start with is Lord Drakkon, aka Further Beyond the Whoosh. He whooshes so fast that he disappears. I think that Drakkon solidly belongs in A. Let's go ahead and talk about his character attributes. We're going to start by talking about his neutral, talking about his buttons first of all. I think Drakkon has decent buttons. Standing Heavy and Air Heavy are a couple of my favorite buttons with Drakkon. I think Air Heavy is a fantastic jump in for him. I think it's a fantastic cross up for him. I think it's the only button you really need to use in the air with him when you're going to approach with him. On the ground, I think Crouching Light and Standing Heavy are fantastic buttons for him. Standing Heavy, I'll always say that any move that advances you forward and has decent range is a good move, and Drakkon has that, and it hits twice. This is good because it gives you extra time to visualize whether you got a hit or whether the opponent blocked, so you can either go for mix or keep yourself safe. Because Drakkon is a teleport mix-up character, you're probably going to go for mix, but you guys see what I'm getting at. So Drakkon definitely has some decent buttons at his disposal, those being a couple of them. I think Crouching Light is also a good button. You could rapid fire it in those scramble situations or to check people, so Drakkon's definitely got some decent buttons. In terms of like a 1 to 5 scale, I'd probably say Drakkon is solidly in a 3. He has some reliable buttons. Let's go ahead and transition over into his toolkit. Now, because Drakkon is a teleport mix-up character, his mix-ups and his mobility are going to be kind of tied into this. His teleports, they are fun, and they are effective for pressure, they are effective for mixing up the opponent, which you will definitely do with Drakkon, especially behind assist. Behind assist, Drakkon is a mix-up monster. The Genocide Cutter back special is a fantastic anti-air special move. You still, to this day, do not jump in on Drakkon, you know, without some kind of coverage, because if he looks up at you and he sees you in the air, he's going to Genocide Cutter you, and then he's going to combo out from there. So be very careful when you are fighting against Drakkons. He has a okay serviceable fireball. It gives you some coverage when you're doing like teleport mix, which is fantastic, but you're not going to be winning any zoning wars with that. Let's go ahead and transition into, you know, how well does Drakkon play with others? How good is his assist, basically? And Drakkon's assist, in my humble opinion, is not that great. Drakkon's assist is an anti-air assist, and I don't feel that it effectively does that. I can't tell you the number of times where I've tried to use Drakkon's assist for its intended purpose, and he just gets stuffed out of it. So it's essentially like a dead assist for me. Now, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just have really bad timing with calling it and stuff like that, but I just think as far as doing its job, it just doesn't do that for me. In terms of offering pressure or mix off of like tagging, I don't think it really has much to offer there outside of the corner, because Drakkon stays in one place and he goes up just a little bit off the ground. So as far as being able to come down with like an instant overhead or something like that if you're in the corner, or sorry, when you're like mid-screen, it doesn't really have that to offer. So I think that Drakkon's assist is kind of weak. Is he a point character? Is he a mid? Is he an anchor character? I think Drakkon is a fantastic point character. That teleport mix just gets so much scarier with assists online. One of Drakkon's flaws is that his teleport pressure is kind of fake. And what I mean when I say that is that if you encounter a character like in another fighting game who has a true teleport, it means when they teleport, they are invincible to physical hits, projectiles, all that kind of stuff. Drakkon, you can check him with fast buttons, you can throw him out of his initial Drakkon dash. It does have projectile invincibility, it took him a while to get that, but that's basically what I mean. Drakkon needs assist to plug those holes so he can actually do his scary mix. So because of that, I think he is a fantastic point character. Let's talk about Drakkon's damage. One of my favorite things about Drakkon is that he can literally convert damage from almost everything that he does. Forward throw, combo conversion, Genocide Cutter, combo conversion, super, EX, like mix. Like he just gets so many conversions into a nice chunk of damage, and it's probably one of my favorite things about him. His killing potential is definitely there. Remember that in my last tier list video when I was like, oh, they're characters who get like all these variations of damage and stuff like that? Like take all of that, crumple it up, and just kind of like throw it out the window, right? There are 3 types of damage in this game. You either get under 900, over 900, or you just straight kill characters. Drakkon is somewhere between getting over 900, definitely, and being able to kill characters. He's going to be one of those characters who has to dump all his resources into attempting to kill characters, but if he doesn't just kill you, he will get really close if he can actually get like a full jump in or something like that. So his killing potential is definitely there. So Drakkon, definitely a solid character. All right, so who are we going to talk about next? So just like the last tier list video, got some perspective, and the next character I want to talk about is my favorite character in the game, my Tamashii, my spirit animal, and that's going to be the Whoosh Man himself, Trey of Triforia. Now, where am I going to put Trey? Is he good? Is he the best character in the game? No, not so much. Trey Triforia, he's a decent character, but he honestly is not really that good. We will go ahead and talk about it, starting with, of course, his buttons. Trey has no buttons. His buttons are not good. I would give his buttons maybe like a 2 on a 5-point scale, and the only reason why I would give him a 2 is just because he has his air medium and his air heavy. They actually are decent jump-ins. His air medium is a cross-up, and that in combination with whoosh can really help you out with your whoosh mix pressure. But outside of those buttons on jump-in, Trey really doesn't have any buttons to fight with. His best button is probably on the ground, standing medium, but even that move isn't really that good. So on the ground, Trey doesn't really have a whole lot of buttons he can fight with. Like his standing heavy is literally like an elbow bump, so it's just like, you know, come on. So, but yeah, so Trey, He does not have good buttons. Let's talk about Trey's toolkit, which, just like Drakkon, is kind of tied in with his mobility and his mix-ups. So Trey, just like Drakkon, his main special move is going to be his whooshes, similar to how Drakkon's main thing is his teleport. Trey is all about the whoosh mix. Trey is all about being in your face and confusing you with whoosh mix in combination with assist. Because he has so much varied mobility with his whooshes, means that his mobility is good. He can actually attack you from a bunch of very unpredictable angles. So that does make it good. As far as an extra mobility tool in combination with, like, let's say his dash speed, I would also give Trey's mobility probably like a 4. You can run into a lot of stuff. You can run into projectiles and whatnot, so you always have to have something covering you before you actually start whooshing. As far as his other tools, his fireball is horrible. Now, on paper, the way it was supposed to work out is, okay, it might take him a little while to start up, but you get 3 fireballs that you can fire in a staggered fashion any way that you like. You can do the captain kick, his back special out of it, and you can do whoosh out of it, his forward special. So on paper, it sounds like, oh, okay, I have some options here, until you actually see him put his staff up in the air, and then you realize, oh no, this move is slow. If you're ever fighting against a whoosh man, just wait for him to put his staff in the air and get a full screen jumping on him, because it literally starts up that slow. His captain kick is a good tool for punishing people who have a long startup on their moves. So you can use that as like a kind of like a full screen punish. You can use it to punish back dashes, and you actually do get full combo from that, which is nice. I still think the captain kick needs a little bit more than that, but it's okay. It's an okay move. I think that does it for all of his special moves. I mean, he does have Air Whoosh, but Air Whoosh is just a mobility tool. So Trey's tools are average at best, and some of his tools are pretty bad. We're actually going to talk about some things that we can do about that. Let's talk about Trey's synergy. Like, does he play well with others? At base value, his assist is not good for much else than like combo filler. There are much better assists that you can use to help maintain pressure and stuff like that. And if you just throw him out there, his recovery takes so long that you're just going to get him killed if you do that. However, Trey's assist actually does have some very interesting interactions with characters who have overheads. Because what you can do, and I do this with Scporina, is you can actually go for like an overhead. I know it's not the best example. Her thing is slow. You can, whatever. The point is, you do her heavy auto combo, which leads into an overhead, right? You plug the gap between her shoulder charge and the actual overhead by calling in Trey. When she goes for the overhead, you active tag into Trey and you go for a low, which sets up for either an unblockable situation or a hard to block situation. And Trey can do this with any number of other characters who also have overheads. So Trey does well with other characters who have overheads as far as establishing pressure. And then the other thing his assist is good for is when you have other characters who have better neutral tools up front, like Kimmy on my team, for instance. One thing I'll do with her is I'll charge arrows and either do away arrows back special, or I'll do the leap with forward special and do the medium option, so she'll fire the arrows at the opponent. I'll call in Trey after I fire the arrows, and it gives him coverage on the way in, so that way he's already in the opponent's face and he can do whoosh mix with assist, which is what he's supposed to do. So Trey's assist in of itself is not that good. I'd probably give it like a 2, just because, you know, it does have that interesting property and it actually is pretty good for combo extension. But other than that, Trey doesn't actually play too well with other characters. He actually needs characters to play well with him. He needs characters with good assist to help compensate for the fact that he doesn't have like very good neutral tools. Let's talk about his one saving grace, and that is the fact that he gets that damage. Now, he can convert from Captain Kick, random hits, and from forward throw. So he actually has some good conversion options. He gets good damage. Like, his killing potential is really good. He can be one of those characters who has to dump all of his resources into killing a character, but best believe if he does, your character will die. Now, that being said, he does get a lot of extensions after a max out of the juggle limit meter, just because of, you know, doing the whooshes at the end and the way that his OTG works and all that kind of stuff. So he definitely gets some really good extensions from his combos. But yeah, Trey's capacity to kill, and in terms of the amount of resources he has to actually invest into killing, you will die if you get hit by Trey. That is his one saving grace. I've said that way too much. Let's talk about where Trey kind of fits on a team. Trey is, because of how he struggles in the neutral, he's either going to be a point character or he's going to be a support character. Now, you might be asking yourself, Parker Lad, if he struggles in the neutral, why would you put him on point? Let me explain. My main team for him, because I ultimately wanted to make a team to allow him to capitalize on doing whoosh mix. If you put good assists behind him, Trey can get in and do whatever he needs to do. A better option, and this kind of falls into him being a support character, is because Trey does so well at getting damage, you can put a character with better neutral tools in front of him, and then when you get that hit with that character, you can tag in Trey and let him combo out. So he basically cleans up that way. You can use his assist for those overhead unblockable setups I talked about, and then you can also use assist in combination with characters with better neutral tools in order to fire something to give him coverage as he runs in so he can proceed to do whoosh mix with assist. In a sense, he's kind of like a point character who you put second that way, because that's actually how I play him. My team is centered around him, but I have him actually as my secondary with Kimmy up front because she has better neutral tools. And then when I do tag him in to do whoosh mix, I have Scporina as well to help him, do whoosh mix and actually get that hit so he can get those kills. So Trey, he's either going to be a point character or he's going to be a support character. So the last thing I want to talk about with Trey is what can we do to make him a little bit better? Outside of just completely reworking the way his buttons look, which I'm pretty sure costs more money than they want to spend on this game, there are a couple things. The only thing I want them to do for this character is to decrease the startup of his neutral special. If you decrease the startup of his neutral special, then it makes it not complete booty, and it allows him to utilize the other tools such as his whoosh and his captain kick from the neutral special the way it was intended. Somebody a long time ago made a suggestion to make his captain kick projectile invincible. They could. I don't want them to increase the speed on it because that would throw off, his combo structure at this point, which I think a lot of people have gotten accustomed to. So they can leave that alone. Oh, I almost forgot. Let's talk about his potential and let's talk about how easy or difficult of a character he is to use. Now, I would probably say that in combination with Trey's, lack of tools in his neutral, he would probably be a 4. He's not a 5, but he's definitely like a 4. Getting used to, the timing of doing his whooshes with assist. His combo structure can be a little volatile because one thing is when he actually does Pyramidas, which I actually need to talk about. When he does Pyramidas, depending on what character you're fighting against, like, weight classes, male, female, that kind of stuff, at the end of a combo, he'll either knock them all the way into the air or they'll wall bounce and they'll end up right in front of your face when the last series of bolts hits, which means that you kind of always have to be ready with how to adjust on the fly with some of his combos sometimes. So that makes him a little trickier to use. But I do think that Trey's potential as far as his whoosh mix is very high. If you put the time into Trey, you will definitely get some good things out of him. He just needs some, developer help to make his tools a little bit better. Back to Pyramidas. Pyramidas is probably one of Trey's only other neutral tools that he has. If you have Pyramidas online and you're in a safe situation to use Pyramidas because when you use Pyramidas for at least, let's say 3 seconds or something like that, you basically have control of the screen, and you can use that as far as opportunities to do whoosh mix. I love doing Pyramidas on incoming as well for the same reason. It gives me control of the screen, and he has a lot of different options he can use in order to mix you up. You can just go for throw and toss them into the lightning bolt. You can do left, right, up, down, like just all over the place with him. So now that I'm done gushing about Trey, I'm not so blind as to think that he's the best character in the game. I'm very aware that he is functional, but not that good. All right, who do I want to talk about next? So we just go down the line. Let's just go down the line. So the next character we have up is Movie Blue. Movie Blue, I think, is another decent character. And I still think, unfortunately, he is, relative to everybody else, he's not a bad character, but relative to everybody else, I think that he's still the worst character in the game. Let's go ahead and talk about his character traits. Let's talk about his buttons. Just like Trey, he doesn't really have a lot of buttons to work with. Crouching Light is okay, his Air Heavy is a good cross-up, but other than that, he doesn't really have any good buttons to fight with. Let's talk about his mobility. His mobility is average. He has an average, dash speed. You can actually attack dash with him, and his speed is pretty decent. He has his teleport as well, but we'll get to that in a moment. So he does have a little bit of variability in his mobility, but I'd probably say his mobility overall is average. Let's talk about his tool set. Movie Blue is probably the most gimmicky character in this game. Everything that he does is related to his charges. When he has no charges, his tool set is actually pretty bad. So let's go ahead and talk about a couple of things. So first we have his charge. His charge is not supposed to have like an amazing hitbox or anything like that. It is what it is. It helps him build charges. It does have a hitbox, so it's fun to do in combos like when you're in the corner or stuff like that. But outside of that, his neutral special doesn't really have anything to offer. You can't do it in block strings. You can't do it mid-screen for like combo extension or anything like that. But it's not really supposed to. The fact that you can actually combo with it at all I think is actually really, really cool. Let's move into the Sentinel Bolts. Last patch he actually got, or not last patch, the patch before last patch, before the screen increase, he actually got a legitimate OTG where if you're close with your opponent, the Sentinel Bolt just comes straight down in OTGs. It actually is a good tool for controlling your space, but when you have just one, it's not really that great. I still like to throw it out before I start charging just so I have something on the screen that's blocking my opponent while I'm doing charges. Let's talk about his forward special. Iron Man Blast is not good. One of Movie Blue's biggest problems is that when he does not have charge, he has no pressure. And one of those reasons why is because of Iron Man Blast. If you like crouch block, the first couple of hits, the first part of Iron Man Blast is actually a high. So because of that, he has no pressure. And then aerial special is just an aerial charge. So all of those things in combination with, mediocre buttons means that his toolkit, when he does not have charge, is not that good. It's probably like a 1 or a 2. Now, when he does have charge, per the gimmick, he gets some pretty nice stuff. He gets access to a teleport, which is fantastic for punishing characters who are trying to just zone you out with projectiles. It's good in combination for mix with assists. He gets access to a fireball, a really good fireball. It's probably the closest thing to like a traditional beam assist where it just comes out and it soaks multiple hits of other projectiles. It's a great fireball. It's great for zoning. And then he gets 2 lightning bolts whenever he has the charges, which means you have even that much more screen control. And then of course he gets access to a full screen shockwave that leads to a stun state. So when he has charges online, his toolkit goes from like a 1, 2 to like probably a 4. But that just kind of is the nature of a gimmicky character. I'd probably say overall, like accounting for needing to have the charges and the fact that charges, it essentially takes you that much longer to throw out moves with Movie Blue because you have to account for those charges. I'd probably say overall, I'd probably have to put him in a 3, but I'd probably say overall his toolkit is a 2 if you actually account for needing to actually build the charges and needing to find ways to actually build those charges and incorporating that into your game plan. He's not going to mix you to the moon. He has a teleport, which is good with assists, but if you do the teleport raw, you're just going to get punished for it because he goes to the same place every single time. He goes up above your head, and he goes behind you. He's literally going to telegraph it because he has to jump before he teleports. You're going to turn around, you're going to smack him, and then you're just going to combo out for full damage. So he's not going to mix you up, but he has some basic mixing tools. All right, let's talk about, how well does Movie Blue play with others? And he plays very well with others. He has a very strong assist, especially with the assist buffs that he got in the latest patch. Good projectile durability. He's great for reinforcing zoning game. He's great for giving coverage for characters who are trying to get in, all that good stuff. So his assist is definitely fantastic, definitely plays well with others. And in that same vein, I think that Movie Blue is a fantastic support character. I've seen him played on point before, which, if he has a good assist, once again, you can do teleport mix. Having good assists, helps give him time to do his charges and whatnot to have more effective tools at his disposal. But I think support characters character is where Movie Blue does best, you know, especially with those assist buffs and whatnot. And on top of that, when you throw out his assist, you can actually throw out his assist, act attack it, and then he actually has some coverage, you know, when he goes in, either for building charges, going to get a hit, you know, all that kind of stuff. So fantastic support character for Movie Blue. As far as his execution, I'd probably say that he's like a 3. His combo structure, like mid-range combo structure, is not very difficult. It's like a basic relaunch combo, and you know, you can use a basic relaunch combo, and that's really all you'll need to know with him. The challenge in Movie Blue really comes in the resource management of his charges, and you know, in combo sometimes knowing how his charges will impact his combo structure. It's not too big of like a whole alteration on his combo structure, but having to account for your charges is probably the difficulty in Movie Blue. That being said, though, I'd probably say that Movie Blue's potential is kind of middle of the road, and I think that's just because the nature of him being a gimmicky character, and you know, his tools is just, you build the charge, you lose the charge. You build the charge, you lose your charge. There aren't any other clever ways that you can use his charges other than just using them. So because of that, I'd probably say he's middle road of his potential. Moving into his damage. Movie Blue, he has a couple conversions outside of just regular hits. He has forward throw, and then he also has Sentinel. You know, being ready to convert off a Sentinel, you know, fantastic, you know, for him. The fact that you can get forward throw, at least in the corner. And then, of course, another buff. Theoretically, I haven't seen it yet, but the patch notes lead me to believe that in any situation in which you hit somebody with super, he will always land at your feet for a combo conversion, which is something that he definitely needed. He has a really good super, you know, in that vein, where it's like if someone even looks at you funny, if they think that they're going to try and whiff something like on you, you can literally just like full screen punish super on them, and now you can actually get a proper combo from it. So really good for Movie Blue. So, you know, he has some conversion options. I'd probably say his conversion options are probably like a 3. He gets forward throw, he gets regular hits, he has super. So yeah, I'd probably give him, you know, average. Now, as far as his killing potential, Movie Blue's killing potential is strictly based off of where he's on the screen. If he is mid-screen, he's not going to kill you. He's going to dump all the resources that he has into it, and he's not going to kill you, at least on his own. If he's in the corner, though, it's a completely different story. In the corner, he definitely has the killing potential. He can definitely get above the 900 meter range or 900 damage range when he has all the meter, and he will be one of those characters who actually has to dump all of his resources into attempting to kill you when he does attempt to kill you. Let's talk about some things we can do in order to actually buff Movie Blue. There are 2 big things that I want to talk about with him. I'm sure you guys can think of a bunch of different things, but there are 2 things specifically I want to talk about. Number 1, I want to talk about Iron Man Blast. Movie Blue has absolutely no pressure outside of his charges. If he has no charges online, the Sentinel back special takes some time to come down. You can punish him for doing that. Iron Man Blast is a high. You can punish him with a crouching button. Neutral special, the hitbox is small, so if he tries to do a block string into that, you can punish him for that because he'll whiff it. He needs some kind of safe string that he can do when he doesn't have charge. He needs to have some tool that he can rely on when he doesn't have charge built in order to be a more functional character. And what I want them to do is make the Iron Man Blast a true mid the entire way through. This wouldn't do anything for Movie Blue outside of give him a safe string, which is something that he desperately needs. The other thing that I would suggest is I think, and I said this, when did I say this? In my Season 4 When video, I said that Movie Blue's EX is literally just like RJ's, except it is objectively so much worse than his. Like, the hitbox is pathetic as opposed to RJ's, which hits from like half the screen away and leads into a crumple state. Movie Blue, he came in the before time, so he wouldn't have had one of those tools. But now that we're in the now time, what I think they should try with him is make his EX have the exact same properties as RJ's, where if you do the initial EX, you get a crumple state, just like RJ. If you tap the EX button again, he'll do the rest of the follow-up to his EX for no extra meter. I think that this would be a nice combo extender for him to help him carry, carry characters to the mid-screen so he can still get damage without having to sacrifice, screen carry. And also, I'd increase the hitbox on it just a smidge. The EX barely goes in front of his fist. That is pathetic. especially when he has lightning that comes off it. Just extend the hitbox of it to where the lightning is, just a smidge. It would still not be fantastic, but let's look at another character like Udonna, for instance, where Udonna, her EX has pathetic range, but guess what? When you hit somebody with it, you spawn 2 orbs immediately. So Movie Blue doesn't have anything. He's just an objectively bad character in that regard with the EX. So those are 2 things I would consider. Make his Iron Man Blast a true mid, make his EX have the same properties as RJ's while extending the hitbox just a teeny tiny bit. I think those would help make him more functional. Would he be the best character in the game? No, but he would definitely be a lot more viable. Alright, next character. Dai Shi. Dai Shi is a really good character. Let's go ahead and start talking about Dai Shi. Dai Shi, as far as his normals, Dai Shi has decent normals. I'd probably give his normals a 3. Crouching Light is his god button. Like, you fish with it all the time. Aerial normals, he has, air medium, it's a decent cross-up. Air heavy is a good jumper from the front, so he definitely has some decent buttons to work with. Let's transition this into his toolkit. Now, I think that Dai Shi has a fantastic toolkit, and it all starts with praising the sun. The sun ball is such a versatile move. It's good for protection. It's good for pressure. It's good for setups. It's good for so many things. Like, I love the sun ball, being able to throw out the sun ball to protect your assist so you can call your assist. I love that you can actually fight behind the sun ball by doing, like, the snatch with the lion in the air. It's the Dai Shi special, set out the sun ball, do the wall cling, switch to the other side, go for the dive kick for a really quick cross up. It does so many things. Like, it pressures so much in the corner. It's such a good move. Let's talk about his wall cling. Let's talk about his lunge. The lunge and the wall cling give Dai Shi a lot of versatility as far as his mobility. He's going to be another one of those mix-up characters who's going to attack you from multiple angles. So because of that, I definitely say that Dai Shi's mobility is, I'd probably give his mobility a 4.5. It's very varied. I'm not going to say that it's like super good, but it's very varied. So I'd say that his mobility is like 4.5. He has so many different ways that he can alter how he moves. Like, you do the wall cling, you jump off of it, you do the roar, which pushes you back so you can bait things. You can switch to the other side, you can jump off of it. And then same thing with like his demon flip, his lunge. Like, he can hit you from behind, he can hit you from in front, he can cover so much distance. Just all these crazy things that he does, like with his mobility from those tools, make Dai Shi very a fun character to play. The run is cool. It does have armor. It does have some startup to it, so that makes it not the most reliable tool when it comes to like trying to get around zoning style characters. But Dai Shi definitely, I think, has, a fun toolkit. He has a lot of different options for a variety of situations, so definitely a great toolkit. We talked about his mobility and, his mixed potential from his mobility, like, the lunges, the wall clings in combination with assist. The light option out of his run is a cross-up, which you can tag into another character and go for like a left-right mix. So Dai Shi definitely has a lot of options for mixing you up. Let's talk about Dai Shi's assist. How well does Dai Shi play with others? Okay, his assist isn't nearly as bad as it used to be, but you're pretty much going to be using it in pressure for like sandwich opportunities, left-right mix, since it does hit on the other side if you're close enough to the opponent. Outside of that, the assist doesn't have a whole lot to offer, so his assist is at least decent. I'd probably say his assist goes from like being a 1 to probably like a 3 now, because you're really going to only use it in that very specific situation where you're trying to pressure and go for mix. Let's talk about Dai Shi's versatility. Where does Dai Shi fit best on a team? Is he good point? Is he good support? Is he good anchor? I think Dai Shi can do everything, but where he will excel, in my opinion, is as a point character. Using the sun ball to give your assist protection while you go in, when you're putting stuff on the screen, and then you're going in with like demon flip and wall cling, among other things. That is where Dai Shi is going to be at his best. One thing I actually forgot to mention about Dai Shi in his neutral, his tools lend himself very well to protecting his space. The sun ball protects his space. The roar protects his space. The snatch protects his space. He is a lot like a lion, legitimately, in that way. If you get into his territory, he will F you up. But if you stay out of his territory, then for the most part, you'll be fine until he, decides to lunge in on you with assist coverage. But You guys get the idea. Now, let's talk about Dai Shi's execution. Dai Shi, similar to Drakkon, and probably one or two other characters we'll talk about, Dai Shi's execution is probably some of the highest in the game to maximize Dai Shi's damage and his mobility. I have a friend. His name is Carlito. He introduced me to the term stumps. Have you guys ever tried stumps? Have you guys ever seen stumps? They look really, really cool, right? But my understanding is that they are very difficult to do. And that in combination with just keeping track of Dai Shi when he's moving and just being able to do that fluidly make Dai Shi a pretty execution heavy character. So I definitely say his execution is a 5. But in combination with that, I also think that his potential is very, very high. I think his potential is also a 5. His tool set gives you a lot of variability in terms of things that you can do because you can use them for so many things. Once again, Sunball, you can use it for offense, you can use it for defense, the mobility with his wall clings and stuff like that, and his lunge being able to bait people and whatnot, and his combos. Dai Shi is a combo monster in combination with another character we'll talk about a little bit later. He is a combo monster. His ability to extend and extend and extend, you know, it's up there, but once again, you have to have that execution in order to do that. But Dai Shi will definitely reward you if you put the time into him. You just have to be willing to put the time into him. Let's talk about Dai Shi's damage. Now, initially, I didn't think that Dai Shi could get that good of damage, but I've fought against a number of good Dai Shi players. In really good Dai Shi players, they will kill you with Dai Shi. Dai Shi, he has good conversion, so like he can convert off of Demon Slide, he can convert off of Snatch, he can convert off of the Swipe, Forward Throw, among other things. He unfortunately cannot convert off of his back throw or his EX, so that does kind of hinder him a little bit. But when Dai Shi catches you, and against a really good Dai Shi player who knows how to extend combos, Dai Shi can make you dead really, really quick. Actually, it takes a while just because the combos are so extensive, but you guys understand what I'm getting at. And he doesn't need to dump all of his resources in order to kill you. He can dump like 2 bars into it after a really extensive combo in order to kill you, but you best believe you will die if he dumps all 3. So damage potential, very high. Great conversions, doesn't always need a lot of resources, but you have to put in the time in order to get good with Dai Shi. So because of all those things, Dai Shi goes an A+. Dai Shi, unfortunately though, he does have one big weakness, and that is throw. You can counter a lot of Dai Shi's options in his game plan with throw. You can throw him out of his EX, you can throw him out of his run. So for people who don't know that, it can spell a really tough time for Dai Shi. But anyway, Dai Shi, really, really good character. Alright, so the next character we're going to talk about is Anubis Doggie Kruger, the Shadow Ranger, aka Dog. So, Shadow Ranger, I think he is another solid character. Let's talk about his tool set. He's got good normals. You know, Standing Medium is a fantastic button. It goes into his medium auto combo. The first 2 hits are fantastic for his stagger pressure. Air Heavy is a really good button. It's super, super ambiguous. So among other things, those are some very reliable buttons for him. As far as his toolkit, he is a stance character, and as a stance character, he has a lot of different options, which all lead back to his stance. I'd probably say he's the second gimmickiest character in this game next to Movie Blue, but as opposed to Movie Blue, Dog has a lot more options that are a lot more practical that he can do from, you know, his stance. He has the Shadow Slashes, which can act as a serviceable means of zoning depending on how you do it. He has the Shadow Upper, which can act as an anti-air for Isidia, which is actually a decent, you know, it's the Captain's Sword, so it covers like all of that range in combination with Assist. It's actually pretty good, you know, for zoning. You're not going to be winning zoning wars with it, but it's just a nice means of stream control for certain matchups. He has a counter, which leads to a crumple state, which is pretty good. He's got the Shadow Strike, which is an overhead, and as an assist, we'll talk about that in a little bit. It also has follow-ups, which lead back into his stance, and his stance pressure is fantastic. He has so many different ways that he can mix you up from stance. Like his stance, he can go into a dash into an overhead. He can cancel his stance into throw. He can cancel his stance into a cross-up. Like just all these crazy things. So Shadow Ranger, he definitely has some good tools to work with. Let's talk about his mobility. Shadow Ranger is one of the fastest characters on the ground in this game. I'd say his mobility is a 5 just out of pure speed alone. I think there's one character who's actually faster than him just because, you know, mobility, the way you do it is actually easier. But Shadow Ranger, as far as the ground, he's one of the fastest characters, you know, on the ground in the game. He can get out and he can get out, but more importantly, he can get in very, very quick. So just make sure that you guys are definitely keeping your eyes on him. And then Mix, we already talked about Mix. He has a million different ways that he can mix you up once you actually are more comfortable with his stance cancels, but they're kind of tied to his stance cancels. How well does Shadow Ranger play with others? I'd probably say he's a 3. His assist isn't the most practical, but it has very interesting interactions with the opponent. First of all, the Shadow Stack tracks automatically to wherever the opponent is. It still is an overhead, but the really neat thing about it is that you can actually active tag into him in the air, and you can go for his heavy for a cross-up opportunity that you will catch people with all of the time. So his assist is unique, so I'd probably say 3 in terms of playing well with others. Let's talk about Shadow Ranger's versatility. I think he is a fantastic point character. In combination with assist for doing his stance cancel pressure and just how fast he is, he definitely lends himself well to having assists behind him. That being said though, the fact that his assist can lead to some interesting cross-up opportunities means that he can definitely be a good support character as well. And then he also does pretty good on cleaning up for other characters who have decent neutral. You can switch over to him and let him finish off characters, so he's definitely good on the cleanup in that regard too. But my personal recommendation, put him up front, put some assists behind him. Execution-wise, I think he's another difficult character to use. Me personally, to get really good with him as far as his combo structure and as far as his pressure, like neutral stuff like that, I'd probably say that he is also a 5. Understanding that you can literally cancel everything you do back into his stance, getting used to your options from the stance cancel pressure and varying that, you know, with your normals and whatnot. So doing like the first 2 hits of medium auto combo stance cancel, 1 medium stance cancel, you know, staying like medium auto combo, like you guys understand what I'm getting at. Just getting used to all those things and, you know, kind of always thinking ahead is like, what's the next thing I can do out of my stance in order to mix the opponent? And then also for his combo structure as well, I'd definitely say he's a heavy execution character. But just like Drakkon, just like Dai Shi, his potential is through the roof as far as how he can mix you in the neutral and his combo structure. You want to talk about some crazy custom combos? This character right here was the originator of the word, yes, you can do that. So yeah, if you put the time into Shadow Ranger, he will definitely reward you with the time you put into him. Let's talk about his damage. Now, as far as his conversions, he has a fair amount of things that he can convert from. He can convert from his super. It's a full screen punish, just like Movie Blue. If somebody looks at you funny, you hit them with the Shadow Saber. Leads to a crumple state, so you have all the time in the world to confirm. Back throw, you can get it from, you know, random shadow slashes, regular hits. So he definitely has those conversion options available to him. And yes, he is another one of those characters where if he hits you, he will make you dead. And he does not need to invest all of his resources more often than not in order to kill you. If he does, he will definitely kill you, but he doesn't need to. You want to talk about like some crazy combos. This is like the lab monster character, the originator of the lab monster character. If this was just based off of being a lab monster, Dog would be like S tier. Like the crazy extensions that I see people come up with this character are just insane. So I definitely think that Dai Shi, his ability to kill is definitely up there, and he doesn't always need to use all of his resources in order to kill you. So that definitely makes him very, very strong. I will say that Shadow Ranger, he is an honest character. He has a lot of honest tools at his disposal. He doesn't have anything that's like inherently broken, at least in my opinion. His shadow slashes can be decent at zoning when backed by other assists, but like if you just do random ground slashes, if you're not ready to cancel back into stance like on whiff, then you will get punished. I would recommend sticking to the air shadow slashes. So yeah, I think that Shadow Ranger is definitely, for all of those reasons, another solid A character. All right, next character. Moving into Eric Myers, aka Virgil Ranger. Now, Virgil Ranger, he is going to be one of the broken characters, at least for me. Let's go ahead and start talking about him. Now, Eric isn't particularly well known for having the best of buttons. I'd probably say his buttons are like a 2. His best 2 buttons are going to be his overhead, which is going to be forward heavy, and then he has a good cross up in his air heavy, but outside of that, you're really not going to be like, you know, trying to play footsies with your opponent with Eric. However, his toolkit compensates for this. While he has stubby buttons, Eric isn't going to be the character who's going to be fighting you from close up. He's going to be fighting you from afar with his variety of gunshots. He has neutral special, which he can fire in staggered fashions and charge it, so this can really throw off your opponent's approach, and if they get hit by the beam, Virgil Ranger can just go into a full combo off of his forward heavy, which is of course overhead. He has the formation sword, he has the quantum leaps, so he has all these tools which gives him a lot of coverage of the screen. So because of that, he has some of the best screen control in this game. He is probably the only character who actually has like an uppercut in the air, which he can actually use in order to combat characters who are, you know, just hanging out in the air for too long, which he can also convert into full combo. So don't be fooled. Even though he has stubby buttons, he has some of the best screen control in this game. And then of course, we can't forget about his stance, which leads into his teleport punches, or he can just teleport into the air and, you know, hit you on top of the head and just, you know, keep on going from there. So he definitely has some good tools that lead to some very good neutral for him. Mobility-wise, I would say that he is a 3. 3.5. I'd say he's a 3.5. He's got good dash speed, probably the best back dash in the game. Not a whole bunch of variety in mobility, you know, outside of those things, but I'd probably say his mobility, as far as how fast he is probably like a 3.5. Mix, not going to be a character that's going to mix you to the moon and back, but he does have the overhead, he does have the teleport punches, so he does have, you know, a variety of ways in order to mix you up. I give his mix probably a 3.5, somewhere in there. So, Virgil Ranger is one of those, what you would call, all-rounder characters. But unlike some other all-rounder characters where they're like a jack of all trades, master of none, have a tool for every situation, Eric is good at everything. He's good at everything that he does. Because he has such good screen control, he's a fantastic point character and backed by assist. He has a good assist as well, so he does fantastic as a support character. And if you have a character who is good at building meter from their combo structure, you can just tag into Eric afterwards and you can just proceed to kill them with Quantum Sword. And as an anchor character, once again, because he has such good screen control, he is a good standalone character, so he's literally good at every single thing that he does. He plays well with others. His assists, you can get full combo off of it, and it just completely eats up projectiles. Even though it is slow, that's the only caveat to it, but when it comes out, it's very, very scary. You can hide him off screen so the opponent can't see, and all of a sudden you see this giant blast of colors just fly across the screen. And on top of that, another thing that Eric players will do is they'll try to put you in a sandwich situation where he's an assist character, right? So they're trying to mix you with the point character. They'll go for a cross-up with the point. They'll call in Eric in the back, and halfway through his charge, they'll act a tag into him and go for an overhead. So Eric is good at absolutely everything. He's got a great assist to go along with that. I'd probably say the hardest thing about Eric is learning how to do his Quantum Sword combos. But other than that, I'd probably say that Eric is somewhere between a 3 and a 3.5 on a 5 scale as far as like how difficult of a character he is to use. His game plan is pretty straightforward as far as, you know, being more of a zoning oriented character, and learning how to do those combos into Quantum Sword loops can be a little difficult, but he's not like the most difficult. In order to, like, you know, play him and be effective with him, I'd definitely say he's probably like 3.5. Now, he definitely has a lot of potential in terms of the ways that he can mix up his zoning and the variety of conversions that you can do from his Quantum Sword. Definitely, I think, lead Eric to having a lot of potential for a character who's not super execution heavy. You can make his stuff more execution heavy, and he'll just reward you with more damage. So that's actually a good thing about him. It's like, as far as, you know, starting off playing him, he's not the hardest character to play, but if you want to do more execution-heavy things, which would make you think that he is a more difficult character, maybe like level 4 execution stuff, you know, he will definitely still reward you in that vein. And then, of course, let's talk about his damage. He gets conversions off of everything. He gets crazy damage, and he doesn't have to invest nearly as many resources as any other character, specifically because Quantum Sword has this little caveat to it that if you have any amount of Quantum Sword time left, you can hit the EX button and it will not eat away from your EX meter. So that basically means that he only needs 2 bars, which he can build on his own, in order to get 3-bar damage. So he will kill you if he hits you. So he is very strong in that regard. And for all of those reasons, the fantastic neutral, the variation options, the ease of killing, the fact that he does everything on a team well, that's why I have Eric Myers, Virgil Ranger in S tier. Next character, we have Goldar, aka the Flying Monkey. Goldar, I think, is another S tier broken character. Let's go ahead and start talking about him. Now, normals-wise, Goldar actually doesn't have the best of normals on the ground. I'd probably say his normals are maybe like a 2. You're not really going to be, like, fishing with any buttons on the ground with Goldar. But Goldar's aerial normals are all fantastic. Air light, air medium, air heavy. You can't go wrong with any of them. Like, all of his aerial buttons are good, either because of the range or the hitbox or something like that. Let's talk about Goldar's toolkit. The most important tools that you'll be using with Goldar are going to be his shoulder charge, because it has armor and leads to a stagger state if it hits the opponent, which leads to all the time in the world in order to get combo follow-ups, and his fly. His aerial special, he'll do a swoop, which leads into a sword stab, but the neat thing about his fly is that when you're halfway through the swoop, you can press buttons. This is what makes his aerial normals so good. In combination with his fly, it makes his normals fast, and it makes them unpredictable as to what side they will actually hit on. Especially when you combine that with his God button, which is going to be his body splash, the medium attack button. It has an absurd hitbox, and it's so ambiguous as to what side it's going to cross up on him. So between those two things alone, Goldar has fantastic tools at his disposal. Let's talk about Goldar's mobility. Obviously, Goldar is a big bumbling brute, so on the ground he's not going to be that fast, but his fly makes his mobility really, really good. I'd probably say his mobility is a 4. He has a good dash jump, and that fly just varies up, where his medium or where his buttons are going to hit you at. It's mostly going to be medium. It's going to vary how they hit you, and it makes Goldar a lot harder to anti-air than he appears. So Goldar has deceptive mobility, so I'd say his mobility is probably a 4. His mix, Goldar is not going to mix you to the moon. He is not a mix-up character, but he has simple but very effective mix. And what I mean is jump, fly, body splash. It's a very effective mix. Very, very effective. Let's talk about Goldar's versatility. Just like Virgil Ranger, Goldar is one of the most versatile characters in this game. He plays every single position well. He is a good point character. When you have assist to back him whenever he does shoulder charge or whenever he's flying over the screen so your opponent can't contest you, it's fantastic. As a support character, the shoulder charge maintains its armor and still leads into a stagger state. You can either active tag into him and go for full combo. You can let your point character do full combo. Goldar, he is a fantastic support character, and as an anchor character, doing fly body splash might seem kind of brain dead, but it works. Until you fight a Goldar, even like an intermediate level Goldar, you have no idea how effective jump, fly, body splashes until you actually deal with it. So because of that alone, Goldar has decent neutral, and he's a fantastic anchor character because Goldar also hits very hard, which means he doesn't need to put a whole lot of effort into killing you like some of the higher execution characters. So Goldar is good at everything, and he plays very well with others. Now, as far as ease of use, Goldar is what I would refer to, and what you will hear a lot of people refer to, as a plug-and-play character. That means that you can literally pick him up, put him on your team, practice playing him for like 30 minutes, if even that, and you're ready to go, and you can just play him. Because Goldar is good at everything, because he's an easy character to use, because the only thing you have to know with Goldar is a basic bread and butter combo, and how to jump, press special, and any attack button, and that will win you games. That will win you games. Because of that, he is considered a plug-and-play character. Goldar is one of the easiest characters in this game to play. I'd recommend that if you're having a character crisis and you have no idea who to pick, you can't go wrong with Goldar on your team. Let's talk about Goldar's damage. If there's one thing that, big body hulking character does, is he gets that damage. Goldar, when he hits you, will make you dead for not a whole lot of effort. Now, whether Goldar dumps all the meter into it or not, that part can vary as far as the resources that he will use in order to kill you. If he does use all of his resources, he will definitely kill you. If he uses 2 bars, I'm pretty sure he still can kill you. He's definitely always going to kill you if he does get that hit. And conversion-wise, Honestly, your only really big converters, you have probably three things that you convert off the most. You're going to convert off of any of your aerial buttons, forward throw, and the shoulder charge. He can convert off of the homie, the back special, but you don't really see that coming up too much outside of you're already doing it mid combo, so like extending the combos and whatnot. So Goldar has it all. He has the ease of use. He has the ridiculous damage. He has the brain dead neutral. He plays every single position well. Because of that, Goldar is definitely a S tier character in my opinion. Really quick, before we proceed on, let me go ahead and make a little alteration to this, because I feel like if people are watching this and they see this, they're going to be like, what? So let me make sure that I'm actually organizing all this stuff as I'm going. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the next character in the roster. Everybody's favorite, the poster boy for Power Rangers, and that is Tommy Oliver. Now, if Jason is like the Ryu of this game, barring the fact that Ryu is actually in this game, I would definitely say that Tommy is the Ken of this game. I definitely think he sacrifices a little bit of his damage for some mix-ups and some speed, so that's why I say he's like Ken. Let's go ahead and start talking about Tommy's toolset. Let's start talking about his normals. So Tommy's normals, I think, are very middle of the road. He doesn't have like any one like really oppressive normal. He has very middle of the road stuff for everything he does. Like he has a decent jump in his heavy or air heavy. He has like a decent cross up in his air light. All of his ground buttons are pretty middle of the road. So yeah, I think Tommy's buttons are average. I'd probably give them a 3. As far as his tool set, so Tommy has 4 major tools that he uses. The first of which is his overhead. He can combo from his overhead, so you will definitely see a lot of Tommy players fishing for his overhead, so that's a good tool. He has a basic projectile in his neutral special. Neutral special is slow enough that you can fall behind it, which is cool because it gives you a little bit of extra coverage while you're on your way in fishing for hits. Really, really nice. His dive. His dive is probably one of his most important tools. You see a lot of Tommy players using this, whether they should or shouldn't, but it's nice that you can actually punish people who have startup on things or chucking projectiles at you. You just jump up in the air and you hit them with the dive and you go into full combo. Really, really nice. And then of course we have the Dragon Zord, and this is where a lot of Tommy's dirt comes from. So if you are close enough to the corner, then you can actually call in the Dragon Zord like mid combo or something like that. You can reset your opponent like with an air light while the Dragon Zord is coming down. And then in addition to the fact that Tommy has a comboable overhead, so you have to worry about high versus low mix and things like that, the fact that the missiles make explosions means that you can't actually see what's going on when he's fishing for hits. This is a dirty mix-up. So yeah, it's definitely pretty good. So Tommy definitely has some good tools to work with. Mobility-wise, I would say Tommy is probably a 4 just as far as his speed. He does have his dive to help alter his mobility, but he's not going to be a character who has all these crazy mobility options like a Dai Shi or, like a Goldar who can fly, something like that. But Tommy has good speed on his side, and he definitely has the dive, which he can use to kind of mix up his timing. So let's say he's going for a jump in or something like that. He can do the dive, which will slightly delay, how he jumps. So you can use that to bait anti-airs, assorted things like that. So Tommy definitely has a little bit of variety as far as his mobility. Mix-wise, Tommy has some mix-up options. Dragon Zord leads to dirty mix-ups. He has the overhead, so you have to worry about the overhead versus low situation. He can't combo from his throw, but with assist, that isn't really an issue, for Tommy. So Tommy across the board is pretty solid in a lot of his neutral tools. Let's go ahead and move on to the next part. We'll talk about Tommy's versatility. Where does Tommy kind of fit as far as being a point versus a support character versus an anchor character? I think that Tommy fits best as a point character. Between his speed and decent mix of options such as his overhead and being able to punish stuff with dive, I think that Tommy definitely fits best as a point character. For you Dragon Ball FighterZ players out there, have you ever wanted to do super dash assist in a Power Rangers game? Play Tommy, because that's basically what dive assist is like. That was like way back when, like early Tommy neutral, when dive was plus. You did dive, you called an assist behind it, what could your opponent do? So if you're transitioning from fighters and you want something a little bit of that, play Tommy, do dive, do assist afterwards. I think Tommy's a great point character. Assist wise, Tommy's assist is very niche. I wouldn't actually have him as a number 2 character, but his assist, it offers some very niche situations in the corner on incoming where you can set up some high to low block interactions, because Tommy's fully charged drop kick actually leads into an overhead, and if you combine that with a low, it can lead to some pretty tricky mix-ups. Also, you can active tag into Tommy when he's halfway through the arc in order to do like an overhead in that situation as well. As an anchor character, Tommy can function, but there are characters who have better control over the neutral than Tommy does. He's not going to be a character who you don't want to see as your last character, but there are other characters who are better than him at being an anchor. So in my personal opinion, I would put him as a as a point character. Let's go ahead and talk about Tommy's execution. Now, if you want to learn a basic bread and butter combo with Tommy and, just get used to his neutral options, Tommy is a pretty easy character to pick up and play. I'd probably say that Tommy is maybe like a 3 I'd probably say he's like a 2 as far as his neutral options, and then combo wise I'd probably say he's a 3, so he's probably somewhere in there. Potential wise, I think Tommy definitely has the potential, mostly because of Dragon Zord. Like, the mix-up situations you can put your opponent in as far as Dragon Zord definitely lend to a lot of Tommy's potential, and if you put the time into him as far as his combo structure, you can really get some nice damage off of Tommy combos. I can't do those combos, I just haven't practiced them, but I definitely have seen a number of players like Isaac, like my buddy Carlito, who can kill with Tommy. So Tommy is one of those characters where it's like his floor isn't particularly high in order to learn how to play him in neutral and stuff like that, but if you put the time into him, then he'll definitely reward you as far as like Dragon Zord mix, as far as his combo options. Tommy definitely will reward you in those regards. All right, let's talk about Tommy's damage. As I already alluded to, Tommy can get that damage. You will have to put the time in to learn those combos, but Tommy can definitely get that damage. His killing potential is definitely up there. He's not going to be one of those characters who's consistently going to only kill you for like 2 bars, something like that. I think more often than not, especially for me, you kind of have to dump all the resources into Tommy combos in order to actually kill with Tommy. And then conversion wise, Tommy definitely has some good conversion options. You have his overhead, which leads into full combo. You have the dive, which leads into full combo. And then of course you have your straight hits. But one thing, he can't combo from EX. He can't combo from throw without assist, so that's a mild inconvenience, but he definitely has some conversion options. So because of all of those reasons, I definitely think that Tommy belongs in the A tier. Let's start talking about Kitty Cat. I'm going to have Kitty Cat as a solid character. Let's go ahead and start talking about her. So, normals wise, there are 2 normals that I really want to talk about when it comes to Cat, and that's going to be her crouching medium and her air heavy. I think that crouching medium, not the best button in the game, but definitely one of, I think, the best buttons, at least on the ground in the game. The move is fast. It hits from like the neutral starting position of a fight, which is really good for range and how fast it is. And when you combine that with Cat's speed, it almost feels like a slide that goes like 2/3 the screen, like if you dash into it. So that can be kind of scary if your opponent is not paying attention. And if that wasn't good enough, it also has a hitbox behind it. I remember when I got hit by a crouching medium on incoming and it crossed me up, like I did like a cross under. I was like, this thing has a hitbox behind it? That's crazy. But yeah, I definitely think the button is great. It's great because you can go into standing heavy. By that time, you can figure out, oh, I got the hit versus, oh, they're blocking. And then you can go for mix, you can go for combo, you can keep yourself safe, all those things. So I definitely think that Cat's a fantastic normal in her crouching medium. Air heavy is a good cross-up. It's not like a brain dead cross-up, but it is a good cross-up in the air. So between those 2 buttons alone, I definitely would put Cat at like a 4 as far as her buttons. Moving into her general tools, there's one tool specifically that we have to talk about before we get to the others, and that is going to be her back special. If you do Cat's back special, she goes into an invincible back flip. I think it's invincible to everything except maybe EXs. I still have to test that out. I'm not entirely sure. But she goes into a at least semi-invincible backflip, and then from that she has an invincible follow-up which leads to a stagger state, which you will get hit by all the time. It almost feels like a get out of jail free card when you do it with Cat, because you feel like someone's getting ready to pressure you, you just do the backflip, they get hit by the follow-up, and then you just combo out from there. It's not foolproof, it's not completely smooth brain, because there is like a period somewhere in there before she goes into the follow-up where you can hit her, and I'm not sure if the move is unsafe. I think it's pretty safe, so if the Cat tries to pressure you afterwards, you can out-buttons her in that regard. And there are other things that you can do you can like bait it, I think you could probably neutral tone, but anyway, I'm just rambling at this point. Point is, the back special, it's a good tool for Cat. Cartwheel, I think, is another good tool for Cat. Similar to her crouching medium, it hits from like the neutral starting position, and you can cancel it into her backflip into her follow-up. So it's in that way, it is safe. Cat's dive kick, I think, is another great tool. Even though you can't combo from it, it does leave you an advantage when you hit with it. I think it can cross up. So, and that in combination with Cat's throw game is actually kind of scary because Cat does have good throw game. So Cat definitely has some decent tools when she's about at the mid-range or when she is close up. Movement-wise, I think Cat is another 4, similar to Jason. I think she has a good wave dash. I think she has a good attack dash. And her dive kick can make her approach in the air more ambiguous as far as attempting to anti-air her. Mix-wise, Cat is supposed to be a left-right mix-up character. One neat property about her cartwheel that I didn't mention before is the fact that if you are close enough to your opponent, she won't actually hit the opponent, but she will cross over to the other side. In combination with assist, you can do a left-right mix-up situation, putting them in a sandwich situation, actually, where it's like you can stay on Cat and go for a mix-up from there. If they block it, you can switch over to the other character and catch them there. So it definitely makes Cat a scary character. She's not like a super mix-up character because really like the only option that she has is like left versus right. But, you know, she definitely has some solid mix. Let's talk about Cat's versatility. And subsequently, does Cat play well with others? I think Cat does best as either a point character or a support character. Now, at first I thought that Cat's assist was not particularly good, but Cat definitely has a good assist. Cat plays very well with others. Because here's the thing, the Cat Scratch Claws inherently are unsafe. If you do a Cat Scratch Claw and you attempt to do another one, you can actually jab her out of the claws, and you can just go full combo on here. This is a really big problem though whenever you have the point character behind Cat that you have to worry about as well. Also, I don't know if it's how the block stun for this works or if you just can't, but if you attempt to push block it, you will just end up getting hit by it. I have no idea why. This is really scary because when Cat hits you with the final claw, you can active tag into her and go for full combo, or because of how much time you are like your opponent stays in the air for whenever you hit her with the Cat Scratch Claws or hit them with the Cat Scratch Claws, you have all the time in the world for your main character to follow up for combos as well. So Cat definitely plays well with others. So whether you have her up front as a point character explaining that left-right mix-up, or whether you have her on support for assist, her assist is really good, easy hit confirms. So yeah, Cat definitely does well in both of those roles. Now, as far as Cat's ease of use and her potential, Cat is very middle of the road in both those things. I'd probably say she's a 3. She's not the most difficult character to pick up and play. It takes a little bit of effort to learn her combo structure, and potential wise she's also very middle of the road. Because Cat only really lends herself to being a left-right mix-up character, and because she has decent throw game off her dive kick, there's not going to be like a whole lot of things that you can do from that. There's some potential once you figure out those left-right mix-ups, going for a left-right mix-up button, left-right mix-up throw, that kind of stuff. But outside of that, I don't think Cat has a whole crazy amount of potential. Moving into Cat's damage. Cat is going to be one of those characters who has to dump all of her resources into it in order for her to kill. She can definitely get above 900, so her killing potential is there, and she actually gets some pretty good conversions. You're going to get hit by back special. It's just going to happen. You have to accept it, and she'll convert from that. Crouching medium, a good button to catch your opponent sleeping with. Cartwheel, good button to catch your opponent sleeping with. And then, of course, Cat has good throw game. As I mentioned, forward throw it's really good for converting combos, so Cat definitely has those conversion options. And then, of course, on incoming after assist. So Cat's damage potential, her ability to kill, and her conversions are very, very solid. So Cat, in that regard, is a pretty good character. Next up, we have Magna Defender. So Magna Defender, I think, is a decent character in this game. I don't think he is the best, but let's go ahead and start talking about why I have him as just being decent versus being a solid character. Let's start with his buttons. Magna Defender, he doesn't really have particularly good buttons. Like, I think, like, his only really reliable buttons are kind of like his air light and his air heavy, but outside of that, like, for instance, you don't use standing medium very much to, like, fish in the neutral with Magna Defender. He's just not that style of character. So, buttons-wise, Magna Defender doesn't really have many good buttons to work with. He does have an overhead, which he can combo from, which is nice, I think, at least in the corner. I don't know if he can combo from it mid-screen, but yeah, like, neutral-wise, Magna Defender doesn't really have, like, a whole lot of buttons to work with. Let's talk about his tools. Magna Defender is kind of like a high-risk, high-reward character just with the nature of his moves. His forward slash is really good for, like, catching players off guard with, like, doing it on reaction, for instance. So if your opponent... Like, if you see your opponent about to chuck, like, a projectile or something like that, basically doing some move that has a decent amount of startup to it, you can, on reaction, do the forward splash, and you can catch people with it. Like, it's great for happy birthday situations. It's great for catching people off guard just on reaction. It comes out fast. It has multiple, like, hits of armor to it. I think it has up to 3 hits of armor to it as well. So it's a good move, but unfortunately, it is unsafe. So if your opponent blocks it, and a lot of lower level Magna Defender players have this nasty little habit of just kind of throwing it out because they want to hope to catch something, because the move is actually a good move when you do catch something with it. But when you don't, you just open up yourself to a whole world of, like, being punished and stuff like that. Let's transition that to a more offensive or defensive version in his counter. Now, Magna Defender has the best counter in the game. Between his counter, Jason's counter, and Dog's counter, he has, I think, the best counter in the game. It starts up as fast as Shadow Ranger's counter. It's just as active as Jason's counter. If you literally put their 2 counters together, you get Magna Defender's counter. And then, at least in the corner, he can get it. He can get, like, a full combo conversion off of it if you do, like, an OTG afterwards. If you are mid-screen, you're going to get, like, you know, special into super, which is... Or actually, can you get special into super from it? In the mid-screen, you can at least get super from it, so you get some decent damage in that regard. So that, at the very least, is nice for his counter. But once again, it's one of those high-risk, high-reward things where it's like, if you whiff it, or if your opponent catches on to the fact that you are trying to counter too much, then they're just going to throw you, and heaven forbid you come against a character who actually has good throw game, i.e. they can convert for good damage off their throw, then that's going to spell a bad time for Magna Defender. Neutral special is interesting. It's a serviceable projectile, I guess, that hits from about the neutral starting position. You don't actually see the hitbox, but when you hit somebody with it, you measure it out. It's roughly about the neutral starting position. And up close, it leads to some pretty good chip damage. I think it's the safest special option that he has, but if you're up close and you just do the shotgun in somebody's face, you will get punished for it. But about that neutral starting position, it's a lot harder for your opponent to punish you, so it's like semi-safe just because of, like, you know, pushback and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it also has some great chip damage to it. Leads to hard knockdown, full combo conversion. You know, it's okay. And then we have his air special. Air special in combination with assist it's kind of dumb. The hitbox on it is really big. You can cross people up with it, and if you call assist on the back end, you can let your other character who's on incoming combo from that. So in that regard, it's pretty scary. But that just kind of goes back to saying how all of Magna Defender's options are very high risk, high reward. That's just kind of the nature of the kind of character he is, once again, in my opinion. So his tools, I'd probably say, are like a 3. They're pretty average. Mix-wise, Magna Defender, he's not really a mix-up character. He has his overhead, he's got a decent cross-up, but he's not a mix-up character. Let's go ahead and talk about Magna Defender's assist and, you know, where he kind of fits on a team. Magna Defender, I do not think that he plays well with others. He, in fact, needs others to play well with him. Magna Defender is highly reliant on assist in order to kind of conduct his game plan in the neutral. However, when Magna Defender has assists, Magna Defender is like up here. When Magna Defender has assists behind him, he can literally do whatever he wants, because Magna Defender's neutral is literally do something, call assist, / call assist, air special, call assist, what else, like overhead, call assist. You usually do assist after everything that he does. Oh, you know what? There were a couple other things I forgot to talk about. Before that, let's talk about his mobility. Now, Magna Defender on the surface, you know, similar to other big body characters, he moves slow. So you would say, like, offhand, Magna Defender's mobility, he's like a 2. right? But that's not entirely true. I would honestly give Magna Defender's mobility like a 3.5, and this is why. Magna Defender has a good dash jump, and he has a really good wave dash. Nobody wave dashes with Magna Defender. But Magna Defender has a good wave dash. Like, of the big body characters, he's the fastest character on the ground because his wave dash it's good. He'll move about as fast as like an average speed character, like, doing like their wave dash or doing like an attack dash or something like that. That in combination with a good dash jump means that Magna Defender can traverse the screen pretty effectively. So his speed, I'd actually give him a 3.5. Okay, so anyway, back to where he fits on the team and, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, when Magna Defender has assists behind him, he's up here. He can do whatever he wants. He can get away with murder because you can't punish him behind good assists. But that being said, because he is so reliant on assists, I would put him as strictly a point character. He's not a character who you want to have as your last character, just because in the neutral, he just kind of struggles with unreliable buttons, and the safest options that he has are air light, air heavy, and his neutral special at certain ranges. That's something that you kind of don't want for your like anchor character. And then as a support character, his assist is okay for chip damage and for pressure, but as a projectile assist, it doesn't function to help your character really get in or anything like that. There are other assists that are better for pressure. They're definitely better assists for projectiles. So put Magna Defender up front with at least one other good assist, and then just let him go crazy and do whatever he wants. Now, let's talk about Magna Defender's execution. Magna Defender, he's average. I'd probably say he's middle of the road. As far as his game plan, in order to play him effectively, it takes a little bit of time to get used to just making sure you're aware that your assists are online before you go for some of his riskier options, C/C Buzzsaw. But yeah, Magna Defender neutral-wise is probably like 2-3. Magna Defender really only has one combo that you really have to learn. Like, the staircase timing for it is a little bit tricky, but still, I'd probably put him at a 3 as far as his execution. Magna Defender doesn't really have a whole lot of potential as far as like, how he's going to mix you or like variations to his combo structure. He's very straightforward. He's either going to forward slash you, he's going to buzzsaw you, and he's going to have an assist behind you. And then he's going to happy birthday you and like all that kind of stuff. His moves do lend very well to happy birthdays, but once again, Magna Defender doesn't have like the greatest amount of potential. Very straightforward character, very middle of the road. Damage wise, Magna Defender can definitely get that damage. In my experience, he'll have to dump all of his meter into it in order to get over that 900 range, but he definitely has a lot of options that he can convert from, because a lot of the stuff he does leads to hard knockdown. His forward throw, he can convert off his forward throw, which leads into a hard knockdown. Forward throw into neutral special, which leads into a hard knockdown. His neutral special leads to a hard knockdown. You're going to hit people with forward special. And those are probably his main conversion tools. I can't remember if he can get conversion off of super as well, but he definitely has some conversion options just because of those hard knockdown situations. If you want to practice like tagging into other characters, I think Magna Defender is actually a really good character to practice that on, just because a lot of the stuff that he does leads into hard knockdown. And one of the best situations for tagging into other characters is off a hard knockdown, so you can continue on with your combo structure from there. So yeah, Magna Defender, he has to, in my experience, dump his resources in order to get that damage, but if he does, he will definitely get that damage, and his killing potential is there. Magna Defender, as you know, if it wasn't clear before, he's kind of held back by his reliance on his assists and not having very solid neutral game as far as like buttons and things like that. As far as buffs that I would give Magna Defender in order to help him out with this, I honestly don't know what I would do for him. They would kind of have to rework his buttons, honestly. I remember way back when his crouching light was actually his crouching medium, and his crouching medium where he does like the gut check, that was actually his crouching light. I would argue that if they wanted to help buff his neutral, that they would probably switch those two back so he has a reliable low button to fish with in like a crouching medium, something like that. I don't know if that would jack up his combo structure too much, but it's an idea. And then I would argue to maybe make his neutral special, make it a little safer on block, just so he has kind of something to work with. But yeah, for you Magna Defender players out there, let me know what you would do to kind of help out Magna Defender as a standalone character. I'd really love to hear what you guys have to say. Next up, let's talk about Mastadon Sentry. Where are we going to put Mastadon Sentry? I think that Mastadon Sentry is a fantastic character. Let's go ahead and start talking about him. Mastadon Sentry is not really known for his normals. He doesn't have like the most fantastic or oppressive of normals. He does have a very interesting normal in that his standing heavy is an overhead, which definitely plays into his mix-up game. I know, a zoner with mix-up game, I'm having like Deadshot Injustice 2 flashbacks here. But yeah, I think that's an interesting property of his normals. But yeah, as far as like them being particularly oppressive or having really good range or, you know, things like that, I think his normals are very middle of the road. But let's talk about his tools. Very similar to Virgil Ranger, Mastadon Sentry has fantastic screen control. I think he actually probably has the best screen control in this game. Between all the variety of his gunshots, forward gunshot, up gunshot, the ability for him to replace his mines to really control where the opponent goes, the fact that he has an EX gunshot now, it just makes his zoning game so much more unpredictable, because the way it used to work is that he did have one flaw in his zoning game, and that's if you went for all his shots and then he went into his back roll, you know, and he had to do the reload animation or whatever, you could go in there and take an opportunity to punish him. But because of the EX gunshot, you can't reliably do that anymore, which means that sometimes you can get away with just not doing it if your opponent is not paying attention. So the fact that he has all of these bases covered as far as his zoning game means that Mastadon Sentry has probably, I think, the best screen control in the game. So yeah, his tools lend definitely well to that. Movement wise, I think Mastadon Sentry is a 3. Like, his attack dash, he's not going to be the fastest character, but he can get across the screen pretty quickly. And yes, Mastadon Sentry has mix-up options. He has good throw game. He can convert off his forward throw. You see a lot of Mastadon Sentries similar to Cat fishing for their throw because they can get full combo from it. And on top of that, he has the overhead. You can throw out the overhead. You can go for high-low mix-ups, like, you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Mastadon Sentry, he has the ability. He has mix-up options, which makes him very scary, especially when he is in the corner. Now, let us talk about Mastadon Sentry's versatility. Now, initially, I would say that Mastadon Sentry, like just base value, I would say that Mastadon Sentry would be a good support character because Mastadon Sentry does play well with others. His assist, his custom assist, has him firing gunshots down, forward, and up pretty quickly. He comes in, fires some gunshots, and he leaves. So as far as an assist for zoning and approaching, he has great screen coverage with it, and it doesn't take him a lot of time to come in and do that screen coverage. So as far as that, he has a fantastic assist, I think. He doesn't have like the best, it's not like the best, but it's still really, really good, similar to Cat's assist. Because of this, this makes him a great support character for supporting zoning playstyles, or if you just need some coverage for a character who kind of struggles getting in, but let's say they're fast, like you know, any of these characters down here. But because he's such an effective zoner, or because he has such effective screen control, that also makes him a fantastic point character. Like pairing him with somebody like a Jen, who we'll talk about shortly, or something like that, makes him fantastic at controlling the screen. And then because he has such effective neutral, he is probably, I think, the best standalone character in this game because of his ability to convert combos, which we'll talk about in a second, and because of his neutral options, and because he does have a little bit of mix. If there was any character who I'd want to be my last character, it would be Mastadon Sentry. Let's talk about Mastadon Sentry's execution. I would probably say Mastadon Sentry's execution is probably like a 3.5 as far as his neutral. Getting used to mixing. See, a lot of people think that zoning is like spamming. People think that all zoning is just like, oh, they're just doing the same fireball over and over and over again. That is not zoning. Zoning, you have to make active decisions as to where you think your opponent is going to go, mix up what shots you're using, how many shots you're using, how you choose to stagger your shots, where you want your opponent to be on the screen. So like far mine versus close mine, you know, there are so many things that an effective zoner has to account for versus someone who's just using the same thing over and over and over again. So in order to be an effective Mastadon Sentry player, you have to get used to all those options. So for that, I'm not going to pretend like it's the hardest thing in the world, but I definitely say probably like 3.5. I definitely think 3.5. And then as far as his combo structure, Mastadon Sentry combos are not particularly easy to do. So I'd probably say his combo structure is probably like a 3.54 as well. Getting used to those bomb loops and getting used to the conversions you have to do in order to get bomb loops, I definitely think make Mastadon Sentry a more difficult character to use. Not this like the most execution heavy character, but I'd probably say 3.5 for somewhere in there for his combo structure, and definitely like 3.5 as far as his neutral. Let's talk about Mastadon Sentry's ability to get that damage. Now, Mastadon Sentry is a very unique case because he actually doesn't have like a level 2 super that he can just dump all of his meter into to get that big cash out for damage. Because of this, Mastadon Sentry kind of struggles a little bit with his damage. But in this situation, you're kind of comparing 1 bar damage to like 3 bar damage. I mean, they're all characters who can get 1 bar damage and kill. We'll talk about that in a second. But for Mastadon Sentry, more often than not will have to do like 2 mix-ups, or sorry, have to do 1 mix-up in order to actually kill you. In this vein, like if Mastadon Sentry had just a straight level 2 super, he would be an S tier character. But because Mastadon Sentry, because his level 2 super is a counter super, it means that Mastadon Sentry doesn't actually have a way to effectively dump all the meter into his ability to kill, so it means that his killing potential is kind of lacking a little bit. He still gets fantastic damage, but you kind of just have to work a little bit harder for those kills. Because of that, he can't really dump all of his resources into killing. I mean, you can do like neat custom stuff, like you can do like snapbacks like mid combo or at the end of your combos and stuff like that to help him kill. But it's not going to be the same as just being able to dump all the meter into it. Now, I might be, once again, this is just my personal experience with him. Like you Mastodon Sentry mains out there, if you're telling me that he can kill, then fantastic. But in my experience, just because he can't consistently dump all the meter into his combos, it kind of hinders his ability to kill. Conversion-wise, he definitely has the conversions. He can convert off of overhead, he can convert off of forward throw, which you will see a lot of Mastodon Sentry players doing. And the scariest thing is that he can get borderline full screen conversions off of his EX gunshot. So for instance, if you visualize that you hit somebody with gunshot, if you have the meter, you can literally pop EX gunshot, it'll bounce them against the wall into a hard knockdown, and you should be able to dash up and hit them with standing heavy, which is overhead, and go into full combo from there. You'll be able to build back that meter, and then you'll be able to use another EX at the end of that combo. So his ability to convert is actually very, very scary. Once again, I think the only thing that holds him back is his ability to kill. That's the only thing that's keeping him, I think, from being maybe like a top 3 character or something like that. But all of his other attributes, I think, make him a fantastic character. And I actually have Mastodon Sentry, I think, as like my number 5 character. All right, moving on to Jenny. Where are we gonna put Jenny? I'm gonna put Jenny right up here. Jenny is another fantastic character in this game. Let's go ahead and start talking about her. Neutral-wise, without thinking about it particularly hard, like going through and analyzing every single character's normals, I think Jenny probably across the board has the most consistent good normals in this game. Like standing medium, crouching medium, air light, air medium. Like she has a good list of normals to choose from. Even like forward heavy is a good normal for her. But anyway, let's tone it back a little bit. Let's start by talking about standing medium and crouching medium. Standing medium and crouching medium hit from like the neutral starting position, which a normal that hits from that far away that you can confirm combos from is really good. And because a lot of Jenny's normals hit multiple times, it's really beginner friendly in helping you visualize, oh, I got the hit versus something else, so you can figure out whatever you need to do from there. Air medium is an absurd cross-up. It's not like the best. We'll talk about the best in a moment. Trust me. It's not it, but it is a really good cross-up that you generally don't have to think that hard about. Where if you get the hit with it, you can go into full combo from there. Air light's a fantastic jump in from the front. So yeah, Jenny, she definitely has good normals across the board. Let's go ahead and talk about Jenny's toolkit. There are two big things for Jenny who I want to talk about. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Forward heavy. When you put a dash behind forward heavy, that almost goes like 3/4 the screen. So if your opponent's not paying attention, she can catch you with that, and then she can go into the flash kick from there, full combo. Now, let's go ahead and move into the rest of her tools. There are two big tools that we have to talk about, and that is her missiles and her air dash. Jenny was the first character to get an air dash, and this makes her mix-up game very, very scary, especially because she can do it low to the ground because of her pole vault maneuver. We'll get there. Hidden missiles is very annoying to fight against because if you don't have a character who can combo off of EX throw or super or something like that, if Jenny gets hit, the missiles still come down. And if the missiles come down, you're going to get caught in a combo when she recovers from being hit. So the fact that you always have to respect the missiles unless you have some way to deal with them makes Jenny a very frustrating character to fight against. I would argue that this is one thing I've always advocated for Jenny with her missiles, because when you hit her as an assist, her missiles go away. I don't understand why that doesn't translate over to her being a point character. Now, all the Jenny players out there might be like, Parker lad, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're crazy. That's just my opinion. I think that they should function the same way. I don't see any reason why I should have to respect missiles when she's point versus when she's an assist character where they just go away when you hit her. I think it'd be fine. I still think that she'd be a fantastic character. It's just like I feel like that's a little bit too abusable, especially for some characters who can't like even deal with it. Like they can't convert from things I was talking about. So missiles are dumb. Air dash, it really plays into her mix-up game. Those are like her two really, really, really big tools. Like her neutral special doesn't really do like a whole lot outside of maybe like block strings or, you know, doing them in combos, things like that. Her pole vaulting maneuver is actually really interesting because of the way it works, you can actually time it right and do an air dash from it really close to the ground, leading to those instant air overheads, those instant overhead cross-up, you know, type situations. So yeah, Jenny definitely has a very good toolkit. Let's talk about Jenny's mobility. On the ground, base speed, I would also give Jenny a 4. She can book it across the screen pretty quickly. Not as fast as like the fastest characters, but she is still pretty quick. That in combination with her good normals is something very scary to deal with. But that's not even the rest of it. Like her air dash in combination with like her time skip, which we can go ahead and talk about that now. Her time skip plays very heavily into her mix-up game. Between her air dash, her ground speed, and the time skip, she has fantastic mobility. I would give her mobility, I would still probably give it a 4, just, you know, on base speed alone. Let's talk about her mix-ups though. Like Jenny, she is what I thought the quintessential Vortex character, where she can get a hit on you and put you in a reset situation and go for mix-ups all over the place. Now, base level Jenny, because she has good jump-ins and a good cross-up, you really don't have to try that hard in order to mix your opponent. You literally just do an air dash, cross them up on the other side, and go for full combo. But the full potential of Jenny comes through when you start integrating her time skip. Basically, if you do EX in the air, it takes about half of a bar of meter, and she'll go back in time X amount of frames, and you can do something from there. I'm just going to call it the time skip. So because of this, I actually made a video about it because I thought it was a change, but apparently it was always a part of her toolkit. But in addition to just doing simple crosses, this gives you access to so many other crazy things. You can do the pole vault, do the time skip, and then do like a dash on the ground to go for like, you know, empty low setups. You can do like the no cross up. You can do the double cross up, just all these crazy things. So her mix-up game, I definitely think is a 5, very similar to Drakkon. Let's go ahead and move into Jenny's versatility. So with, I'm gonna say like the top 10 characters I picked for this, you're gonna notice some similarities between them. Most of the top 10 characters, maybe like the top 7 or 8, I think, you're going to notice that every one of those characters plays every position in the game well. Jenny, similar to Goldar, is another plug-and-play character. She's not very easy, or she's not very difficult to use, and maybe after like 20-30 minutes, you can put her on a team, and just because of how good she is at everything, you can do certain things with her, and you will just win. You just want a basic bread and butter combo, similar to Goldar: jump, special, button, medium, combo out, and you know that alone will win you games. And then especially with like her missiles being probably one of the best assists in the game, just because of the fact that she shoots 4 of them, the stagger pressure, the lockdown with it, the easy hit confirms and the combos and whatnot. She probably has arguably one of the best assists in the game. So she plays really, really well with others, which makes her a fantastic support character. She has solid neutral in the mix. So that makes her a great point character when you combine her with other assists to make her mix-ups even more ambiguous. And as an anchor character, once again, she's got the solid neutral, she's got the killing potential, one of the easiest Megazord combos in the game. So Jenny, she can do it all. Execution-wise, if I didn't allude to it earlier, Jenny is a very easy character to play. She has one of the easiest, most boring combos that you will ever learn in this game. It's not very hard to get the hit with her, and in combination with a good assist and good buttons, her ease of use, I probably tie her honestly with Goldar as far as like ease of use of character in the game, but she doesn't sacrifice her ease of use for her potential. You don't have to do anything more than just doing a simple air dash medium if you don't want to. But when you start integrating her time skip into her mix, then her potential really starts to come through in her neutral, because the bevy of ways that she can mix you up, the cross up, the no cross up, the double cross up, the empty jump low, among other things, then yeah, her ability to get in there and, you know, get the mix, that's really where she starts to come through. Let's talk about her damage, and this is actually a large part of why I have her above Mastadon Sentry. While I think Mastadon Sentry is a better standalone character than Jen is just as far as his screen control, one thing that I think that Jenny has over Mastadon Sentry is her ability to kill, because she has a proper like level 2 super, which she can combo from afterwards as well. Because she has a proper level 2 super that she can dump all of her meter into, means that her killing potential is just that much higher than Mastadon Sentry's. You know, I've seen plenty of combos where Jenny's kill, she will have to dump all the resources into it if she wants to kill. She can get above 900, but just the fact that her killing potential is there, in combination with her ease of use, in combination with her good normals and one of the best assists in the game, that's why I would actually have her above Mastadon Sentry. So yeah, killing potential is definitely there. She'll have to dump those resources, and her ability to convert, she has the ability to convert. She can convert from super, she can convert from forward throw, and then of course just her regular mix. So yeah, Jenny, fantastic character. All right, let's move on to Ranger Slayer, aka Kimmy. So I have Kimmy as a solid character. Let's start talking about her. Now, buttons-wise, Kimmy doesn't really have the best of buttons, but she does have one good button in her slide, her crouching medium. Her crouching medium, very similar to Kat's crouching medium or like Jenny's crouching medium, hits from the neutral starting position. And it's very easy to hit confirm combos or just whatever you need to do from it. It's probably the only really good button that she has, but it's really the only button I feel like she really needs. So I guess if I was being fair, I'd probably give her a 3. If I was being biased with Jenny, with Kimmy, I would give her like a 4 just because I love Kimmy. But I'd probably say her buttons are probably like a 3 just because like she has the one good button and the rest of her buttons are either subpar or just not good. Let's talk about her tool set. You see how I have her at this particular point right below Mastadon Sentry just coincidentally? That's because I honestly feel like Ranger Slayer is kind of like a watered down version of Mastadon Sentry as far as her zoning game. Similar to Mastadon Sentry, she primarily is a zoner. You know, she can fire projectiles like all over the screen in a variety of different ways, and then with her aerial charge, which gives her even more arrows to work with when she does fire projectiles, just gives her that much more screen control. It's just Mastadon Sentry I think is more effective at it than she is. So yeah, I definitely think tool wise, between like her back arrows, her forward arrows, up arrows, all that kind of stuff, fantastic. Let's go ahead and talk about her mobility. I would say that speed-wise, she is a 3, but her mobility is very varied, so I would give her a 4 in that regard. I would give her a 4 in that regard. Because on the ground, you know, I'd probably say her speed is like a 3. She has a decent attack dash. It doesn't go super, super far. Mastadon Sentry, I think, is a little bit faster than her, but her speed, she can get across the screen if she needs to. But her leap, can also help her traverse the screen pretty quickly. Whether it's in combo structure, whether you need to get over somebody else's projectile and just snipe them with arrows, which you can actually combo from, which is really, really nice. The fact that she can leap away from opponents to keep herself safe means that it makes her an evasive character, but her mobility is definitely good. I'd probably give her a mobility of 4. Mix-wise, she doesn't really have mix outside of assist. Her air light it's an okay cross-up, but a lot of what you'll do with her is once you go into a leap in the middle of a block string, you'll fire an arrow down, and you'll call assist before you go into leap to kind of put your opponent in like a sandwichy situation. But outside of that, Kimmy isn't really known for her mix. She's going to be the one to kind of be more evasive and keep herself safe. A lot of her moves lend her very well to doing that. So mix probably like a 1, 1.5. Let's talk about Kimmy's versatility. Now, Kimmy, I think, is going to be an all-rounder style character, very similar to like some of these characters we have up here. If she had like proper mix that she could do, then I mean, she would definitely be, I definitely think that she would be like somewhere up here. But the fact that she doesn't have mix means that she kind of is on the weaker side as far as an anchor character goes. I think that she's a great point character because she has very solid neutral options. I think she's a great support character just because, similar to Mastadon Sentry's assist, she has an assist that can cover a good portion of the screen, which can help with your zoning game and helping your other characters get in as well. Another neat thing about it is that because her assist is her away arrows where she leaps backwards, you can active tag into her, and it puts a lot of space between you and your opponent to help keep you safe. So yeah, I definitely think that Kimmy is a great support character. She's a great point character. In the anchor spot, I think that she needs a little bit of help. She does have easy Megazord combos, which are nice, but she suffers a little bit from not having that mix-up potential. Execution-wise, I think Kimmy, execution-wise, is another middle-of-the-road character as far as both her neutral and her combo structure. Similar to Mastadon Sentry, you really, in order to be an effective zoner, you really have to get used to the timing of, you know, firing multiple arrows. So for instance, let's say I want to do forward arrow, up arrow, I want to charge. I can't do more up arrows from there because it's a normal, but I can do that in the back arrows, or I can do that into the leap, and just varying how you mix up your arrows and stuff like that, because, you know, you don't always have to zone all the time. You can do a forward leap in, call arrows, call an assist, have your assist come in. Like all these things, you do have to put a little bit of work behind that. So similar to Mastodon Sentry, I'd say she's 3.5 in that regard. Combo wise, I'd probably say she's also like a 3.5. I don't think her combos are super, super difficult, but they do take a little bit of time in order to get used to. Potential wise, I think she is also very middle of the road. I feel like there's really only so much mix wise you can do with her. There's only so much that you can really do like with her arrows. So I think to a certain point she will reward you as far as like your screen coverage and your combos and whatnot, but she doesn't have like a billion combos. She doesn't have like a million different options that she can do. It's like from her specials, it's like, you know, you use them in different ways to frustrate your opponent and, you know, control the pace of the game, but you can't really do much more like outside of that. Let's go ahead and talk about Kimmy's damage. So before, I thought that I actually had Kimmy at the bottom. Well, not the bottom. I had her in my bottom 3 because she had a lot of broken things about her, which we'll actually talk about, which I still think they need to fix. But one of the big things was Kimmy's damage. I thought Kimmy's damage was horrendous. Kimmy's damage is a little inconsistent. Kimmy can kill you under the condition that she's in the corner. If she is in the corner, you can actually do like an over 1,000 damage combo with Kimmy. You'll have to dump all your meter into it. So that's one thing about Kimmy. She is one of those characters who has to dump all their meter into their attempt to kill, but she will kill you, but that's under the contention that you're actually in the corner. If you're close to the corner, then she may kill you, and if you're outside the corner, like doing a full screen carry, she will not kill you. The reason why I say this is because I learned that the brunt of Kimmy's damage is tied to her arrowed up state. You could say that's a little gimmicky that way. So if you arrow her up mid combo and you go into a leap and you do her forward arrows, it tacks on so much extra damage in the middle of her combos. And basically in the corner, you can do that twice. When you're approaching the corner, you can do that once. And when you are full screen, at least in my experience, you can't do it at all. So Kimmy definitely has the killing potential, but it's tied to whether she is in the corner or not. As far as Kimmy's conversions, she can convert off of forward throw only in the corner. She can go into slide and combo out from there. You can convert off of her leap into her forward arrow. She can combo off of that, and you'll convert off a slide. But other than that, Kimmy doesn't really have too many other conversion options. Oh, and she can convert from EX. But outside of that, I don't think Kimmy has like a whole. She's not going to be one of those characters who's going to convert from everything, but she has some solid conversions options. So yeah, that's pretty much Kimmy. Moving on to the original, Jason. Jason is pretty much the definition of a solid character in this game. Let's go ahead and start talking about all his stuff. Normals, they're very solid across the board. He doesn't have any like standout normals that are particularly oppressive or anything like that, but all of his buttons had decent range. He has a decent cross up, which I think is his air heavy. I can't remember if his air medium crosses up or not, but he's got a decent cross up. He's got decent normals on the ground, like rapid fires, crouching light. His standing medium, crouching medium, standing heavy all have decent range. Everything is very middle of the road for him. Let's talk about Jason's tool set. Jason has a tool for pretty much every situation. It's why he's pretty much like the ideal character that you want to start on, because a lot of situations that you'll find yourself in, Jason kind of has a tool for it. Off of push block, doing EX or doing sword rekkas is a good option for Jason. He is a decent zoning tool in his air special, which is just his gun. He has the back roll into his gunshots. You're not going to win a zoning war with that, but the fact you can fall behind it is nice. The fact that he has a projectile at all is also nice. His counter is not good at all. He has the worst counter in the game. Why? Because you can actually stuff him out of the startup of his counter, which completely defeats the purpose of a counter. If I gave Jason any buffs, I would make his counter more like either like Magna Defenders or like Shadow Rangers, where it just needs faster startup. It's essentially like a dead move because it kind of defeats what a counter's supposed to do. It's supposed to have good startup so that, because you want to be able to make a read or make a reaction to what your opponent's going to do, and if you can't reliably do that with a counter, then like what's the counter even for? He has one follow-up out of his back roll with his sword rekkas. I think they got like a slight buff somehow, but I think it was kind of negligible. I actually need to test that out to see what it actually does, but barring me actually testing the move, as far as I'm aware, the sword rekkas that he does out of his back roll is still a dead move that really serves no purpose. I remember when I told my homie Carlito about this for the first time, he was like, wait, Jason has another move that he does out of his roll other than gunshots? That's how dead of a move the move is. But I will preface that by saying that with the changes in the latest patch notes, I have to go and test that out first to see if it's any more viable than it was. But even not accounting for those things, just between his gunshots and his sword rekkas, Jason has decent tools. They're very middle of the road. Movement-wise, Jason's actually pretty fast. I'd probably give his movement speed a 4, honestly. Just like on the ground, he has a good attack dash. He can get in there and he can get out pretty quick. Doing that behind his gun blast gives him some coverage on the way in, which is nice. Mix, Jason has no mix. That's where it comes from. That's where the joke comes from. Jason really has no mix-up options. He has solid buttons, but no mix. That's why he's called no mix, because he has no mix. So I guess in that regard, I'd have to give his mix a 0 in order to stay on that, but no. He gets a 1 for his mix. He has the basic mix that any character can do. He can do like a manual reset with like standing light, or universal reset with standing light. He can run under you to go for a left-right mix-up. He can, reset you in the throw, yada yada. A lot of the basic stuff that every character can do. As far as Jason's ability, or as far as his versatility, because Jason is a jack of all trades, he can literally do everything. He will just not excel at anything. His assist is very middle of the road. It comes out quick, it hits twice, it's good for, combo, hit confirms. The only mix that Jason really has is you can call him in as an assist and he will still cross over to the other side, so you can active tag into him at that point and go for like a left-right mix-up. But yeah, his assist isn't amazing. It's decent for pressure, it's decent to help out other zoners, but it's not like the most amazing assist. There are other assists that are, better than his, but his assist is serviceable. Because Jason has decent buttons, he definitely, gets support from having other assists back him. As a support character, it's serviceable, and because he has decent buttons and decent fundamentals, he's okay as an anchor character. The fact that he doesn't have the ability to mix the opponent effectively kind of holds him back as an anchor character, and it kind of holds him back as a point character as well. Because he's not the most fantastic zoner, that strategy is, like I said, he can do everything, but he's not the best at any one thing. So because of that, Jason is an all-rounder. Let's talk about Jason's damage. Now, Jason definitely gets good damage. Jason's killing potential is there. He will have to dump all the meter into his ability to kill, once again, in my experience. I know people who can get really good damage with Jason, like with the jump gun loops and all that kind of stuff. I can't do that, but I know that definitely plays a part into Jason's damage. He's got good conversions off of Megazord, all that kind of stuff. Jason, he doesn't unfortunately have a whole lot that he can confirm for like really good damage. He can convert from super, which is nice. I've seen people do that in the sword rekkas for a little bit of extra damage. Forward throw, back throw, he needs help from assist in order to help him get conversions off of his throws. So really with Jason, the thing you're really going to be getting most of your hits from is just his normal buttons. So he doesn't have a whole lot of conversion options. So because of all those things, we have Jason right here. He is a solid character, jack of all trades, master of none type dealy. And I think that his ability to kill, and I think that his solid fundamentals kind of outweigh some of the other characters who are a little bit more gimmicky or kind of struggle like in the neutral department. Moving on to the next character, we have Dragon Armor Trini, aka the Big Booty Woman. So we are going to put Trini, for now, at the top of B tier. Let's go ahead and start talking about her attributes. So normals-wise, I think Trini has a pretty good number of normals to choose from. Standing Light, I think, is a great normal from like the neutral starting position to like close range because it comes out pretty quick. You can do tick grab setups with it. You can confirm it into the rest of her light auto combo, which proceeds to go into another combo from there. I think her Standing Heavy is kind of niche. You can use it, you know, against your opponent for ill-timed button presses because it does have armor to it, at least one hit of armor, which leads into a stagger state where you can go full combo. Her Crouching Heavy is a very deceptively quick normal for the range that it has. If you're not paying attention, you will get caught by it. And then, of course, we have her Air Meeting, which can be a very ambiguous move as to whether it's going to cross up or not. So I think Trini probably gets a 3 from me as far as her normals. She has a fair amount of normals to choose from. Let's go ahead and talk about Trini's overall toolkit. Now, Trini is supposed to be the quote-unquote grappler of the game because she's the only character in the game that actually has a command grab. But the main tool for her that I actually really want to talk about is mostly going to be her air special, her Stomp. Because you will get hit by Stomp, and a lot of Trini players will use Stomp. Mostly because, as a result of the recent changes they made for it in the last patch, where it carries her momentum. So because of that, and the fact that when you hit somebody with it, it causes a reverse launcher, meaning that when you hit somebody with it, it'll fling them up towards you, so you can combo out with Trini from there. And the fact that the hitbox on the move is actually, it has a lot more range than it actually appears. So because of that, I've seen like a lot of Trini players using this move, and you will get hit by this move. It seems really easy to defend against, like, oh, okay, it's once you figure out it's a low, you just block low, right? But I find myself still getting hit by that move like all the time. It's I think it's a pretty good move, probably a better move than people give it a lot of credit for. Neutral Special is a fantastic tool for hit confirms because it like keeps you locked in place for so long. When you hit somebody with it, it gives you ample time for one of your other characters to come in and combo out from there, and it's still, even after the nerf, does a pretty good amount of chip damage. Now, let's talk about like her main tools, being her body lunge and her command grab. Of course, her command grab, it used to not be anything special, but over the last couple of patches, it's gotten progressively better. Trini, as far as like her grab and her body lunge, it was kind of like a high risk, low reward situation where it's like, if you call it right, because her body lunge and her grab are supposed to be very similar to each other, right? You shouldn't be able to tell what they physically look like. So for your opponent, it's supposed to be like a guess, I guess. But basically, if you hit somebody with the command grab, then Trini in and of herself doesn't really get much of a reward out of it. She hits you with the command grab. She can get like special into super. That's really about it. She can call on one of her teammates to combo like off of that. So in that regard, it's a reward for your team, but specifically for her, it was kind of like a high risk, low reward situation. And it's the same thing for her body lunge. Her body lunge, you know, is an overhead. It's unblockable in the air, which was nice, but it's like if you whiff it or if your opponent blocks it, then you're basically dead. But with the recent changes to both of those things, with her command grab, she can now cancel her command grab. I don't remember specifically what frames, but basically when she starts dashing forward at you, she can cancel it, which helps her cover space a lot quicker. And also she can use it to bait people attempting to jump or try to get out of her way of her grab. So it makes her grab game a lot more ambiguous. And on top of that, they actually gave it projectile invincibility, like between certain frames. So now it makes it a whole lot scarier, where one thing that Trini struggled with was basically if you were anywhere from like full screen to like long range, Trini didn't really have any good options to get in because she's a slower moving character, so she's not that fast. She doesn't really have any mobility options in the air, so she kind of just had to take it. Now that she has projectile invincibility on her grab when she gets going, that she can kind of circumvent a lot of that, and that in combination with her ability to cancel her grab, I can only imagine what people will do with that like in the future, and I really think that definitely helps out Trini in the neutral department at least a little bit. Only time will tell as, you know, time progresses how truthfully good that will be for Trini's neutral. As far as her body lunge, what they did was they allowed you to cancel it into the stomp on hit or on block, which is something I still actually need to test out, which is really good because at least at base level, you get like an overhead low mix-up from the body lunge into the stomp. And then if you do get the hit off of body lunge or stomp, then you can actually confirm that into a combo, which is really, really great. So yeah, Trini's toolset is actually looking much better. That being said, though, it still kind of comes with some high risk, now high reward kind of situations. But yeah, I definitely think that Trini's moveset is definitely improved. Let's talk about Trini's mobility. Naturally, Trini is a slower moving character, and unlike other characters like Goldar, where Goldar can fly and Magna Defender has a good wave dash, Trini doesn't really have those extra mobility options. She is unfortunately still just, you know, a slow character. Her grab can kind of help her traverse the screen a little bit quicker, but the grab does have startup. And, you know, being able to time it properly so you can actually traverse the screen quickly is a little difficult. And it's not that you can just continuously do it all the time. You do run the risk of running into things because it does have startup or somebody stuffing you out of the startup of it. So it's not a reliable form of movement. So Trini is probably like a 2 as far as movement. She is probably the truest big body slow character in the game. Let's talk about Trini's mix. Trini has some mix-up options, like, you know, as I talked about before, the body lunge is an overhead, which goes into her stomp, which is a low. Her air medium is very ambiguous, and, you know, she does have command grab game as well. So Trini definitely has a couple of mix-up options. Let's talk about Trini's versatility, and subsequently, does Trini play well with others? Trini does play well with others. She definitely has a good assist for lockdown pressure, for chip damage, and for combo confirms. Because of that, I would actually recommend Trini as a support character. I think she does very well as a support character. I think she actually does well as a point character as well. I've seen a number of people play Trini up front, and putting her in combination with assist to cover her when she's unsafe, I think is really great. Using her as what I call an assist up front, where you can do her body lunge or her command grab and then tag into another character so that, you know, they can continue pressure, I also think is really, really great. I think that Trini is best as support, but I do see her as being a point character as well. Anchor character, I definitely think is not where Trini should be. I think that she doesn't have enough good options before I actually go and test them more in the neutral. She kind of wants to be like mid to close range, but when she's far away, she doesn't really have any options to help her get in that don't, you know, require her risk. So it's kind of still easy to zone her out. So like, for instance, if you're playing like a Mastadon Sentry or a Ranger Slayer or something like that, and you're just aware of the matchup and the fact that she has invincibility on her grab, you can try to bait that now and maybe just not go so crazy with your projectiles. So Trini, I think she still struggles in like the long range to like full screen. So because of that, I don't think that she does that well as an anchor character. let's talk about Trini's damage. Trini, as a big body character, can get that damage. Her killing potential is definitely there. She's one of those characters, in my experience, who has to dump all the meter into her attempt to kill, but if she does, she will definitely kill. And then as far as her conversions, Trini, her main thing you're going to be getting conversions from is going to be her stomp. In my experience, if anyone gets a conversion off of me, it's usually from stomp. I don't really see too many people getting conversions off of, like, you know, tail swipe beam, or even from like her grabs. She can probably get, like, you know, neutral special super, or maybe just super from there. But outside of that, Trini doesn't really have like a whole lot of extra conversion options. So because of that, I decided to put Trini right at the top of B tier. I think her buffs have done enough for her not to be like bottom 3. I still think that even with the changes to her command grab yet again, that she kind of still struggles a little bit in the neutral. Only time will tell with that. But yeah, I still think Trini is a decent character, great assist, great support character. So yeah, we're going to leave Trini right now in B tier. Time for the next character, and that is going to be Udonna, aka the Scrubs Champ. I'm going to put Udonna at the top of A tier. Let's go ahead and start talking about Udonna's attributes. So, normals wise, there's really only one normal that we need to talk about, and I'm sure you guys all know what it is, and that's going to be her Air Heavy. Her Air Heavy is one of the dumbest, most abusable normals in this game, next to Goldar's Air Medium, I think. Like, you literally do not have to think about it. It's just when you start getting into a range where you can press buttons, you're just air heavy, like all day. Like, its cross-up range is like ridiculously forgiving, and half the time, like, some of the characters with their launchers, they can't even contest it and they'll still lose to it. So because of that alone, I would give her a 4. She has decent normals, like on the ground, like, you know, average neutral position normals, like in her standing medium, standing heavy kind of stuff. But when we're talking about Udonna, we're talking about her air heavy. Like, that's literally her neutral. You don't have to use anything else. Everything, all of her other buttons are pretty much just for combo confirms, but everything pretty much gets started from your air heavy. I feel like it's the only button with her that you really need. Let's talk about Udonna's toolkit. When we talk about Udonna's toolkit, there are pretty much only 2 things that we need to talk about, and that's Ice Ball and Hail. Ice Ball and Hail. Ice Ball and Hail. That's what Udonna does. On the ground, she chucks an Ice Ball, and then after that, she jumps into the air and she does Hail. And Hail is pretty oppressive. It fires downward at a very aggressive angle. She fires 3 of them, so it's really hard to get under her in order to actually, you know, attempt to punish her for doing Hail. It gives her so much extra distance when she does it. So, like, if you do a dash jump in the Hail, she'll go so far, and you can do it while retreating as well. It just takes you so far away from your opponent when you do the Hail. So Hail is really good, especially because she has no recovery when she actually does the Hail. Like, if you are not, like, frame perfect with your punish timing, if you are actually able to get under her, because it's really the only way to combat against Udonna, if you don't have a character that can contest her in the air, you have to find a way to get underneath her Hail so that when she comes down, you can punish her. But if you are not perfect, because of how little recovery time Hail has, your opponent can still EX you. That's supposed to be like Udonna's weakness, where it's like, okay, she's a zoner, but if you get in on her, then, you know, that's your reward for getting in on her zoning. But the fact that she can just EX out, even if you get underneath her, means that your punish is not guaranteed, and that is kind of not so fair. So yeah, Hail is very oppressive and can win games on its own. It kind of really sets up a lot of what Udonna does. It sets up her coverage for her teammates. It sets up her coverage for when she starts getting in and pressing you with air heavy. It's like the foundation of her, like, retreating, her movement, like everything. Like, Hail is really, really good. Ice Ball is just really good for tripping up your opponent. Like, you know, the Ice Ball just bounces along the ground or whatever, and like your opponent's trying to combo you and they end up getting caught by it or something like that. Like, Ice Ball is just really annoying to deal with. She does have, like, you know, the glacial pillars. You don't really use that a whole lot. And then a very underutilized tool that she has actually is her orbs, her back special. It has a really neat interaction among other things, in addition to, like, helping out her zoning. One neat interaction that it has is that if you spawn them and then you tag out, they still stay on the screen. So it kind of gives a little bit of extra pressure. It's highly underutilized, and I wish I'd love to see people use it more. But yeah, usually when you're talking about Udonna, you're talking about ice balls and hail. Let's talk about Udonna's mobility. Udonna's mobility, she gets about a 3.5. She doesn't have like crazy mobility, but once again, her hail just makes her dash jump so much better as far as her ability to traverse the screen. And then base, if we're just talking ground speed, she's a 3. She can actually get across the screen about as quick as like Mastadon Sentry can. And you know, for a character who's supposed to be primarily focused on like zoning and stuff like that, that's some pretty good movement speed. Mix. The only mix you really have to deal with Udonna is going to be her air heavy. When she gets into air heavy range, she's just air heavy, air heavy, air heavy all day. And for characters who have a difficult time contesting that move, you will unfortunately get hit by it, but it's really the only mix that she needs. But I guess in that vein, she essentially has no mix, but you know, I guess that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about Udonna's versatility. Udonna is a very versatile character. She isn't like the best all-rounder. She is probably best as a point or support character, but she can really do it all. She has safe options, you know, in the form of her hail and her air heavy and her ice ball, so she can be a good standalone character. Probably not the best as like a Mastadon Sentry or like a Ranger Slayer, but she's still a really good standalone character. Support ice ball is fantastic. Like, you will get tripped up by ice ball like in the mid-range all the time. Like, you know, you are calling out ice ball and your opponent's hitting you and you just see the little ice ball just bounce along and it just clips you right on your toe and you get frozen, and then you get full combo off of there. So ice ball is definitely great. And then as a point character with the right assist, she can really lock down the screen and she has some amazing screen control. So whether it's point or support, I think those are the best ones for Udonna, but she can function as an anchor character. She has a very simple game plan, good neutral, and some very easy Megazord combos that rival Gens. So yeah, Udonna, she can technically do it all. And she plays very, very well with others. Ease of execution wise, similar to Jenny, similar to Goldar, Udonna is another one of those plug and play characters. She is probably the easiest character to use in the game. Her combo structure is not hard at all. Her neutral, I'm not going to say it's brain dead, but it can kind of be a little smooth brain sometimes. Subsequently, though, Udonna doesn't really have like a whole lot of potential as far as like her combo structure or like her game plan. Her game plan, for the most part, is hail and ice ball, hail and ice ball. And when you get close enough to your opponent, it's air heavy, cross up air heavy. I think there's some untapped potential with her orbs, her back special. But outside of that, yeah, Udonna, she's a pretty straightforward character. I stopped using her after a while just because I kind of got bored with her because she didn't really, you know, give me like a whole extra lot that I could do. But what she does is very, very effective. Let's talk about Udonna's damage. Let's talk about her conversions. She has back throw, and she has super. Her super does put you in a crumple state, so you can actually get confirms off of that as well. But most of your confirms are going to come from air heavy because that's just kind of what Udonna does. Now, one thing that I think that Udonna kind of suffers in a little bit is her killing potential. I think she is on the lower damaging side, so she's one of those characters where more often than not, if you try to do a full bread and butter combo, in my experience with Udonna just by herself, she is going to be one of those characters who's going to have to hit you twice, even if you dump all the meter into it. I think she can get really close to 900, but I don't think that she can actually quite get there. So her killing potential kind of lacks a little bit. And the fact that she doesn't have any mix means that as a standalone character, she kind of struggles to get those hits a little bit, because the only thing she's really going to do if there's no other characters is she's going to do air heavy, she's going to do ice ball, or she's going to do hail. So it can be a tough time for Udonna when you don't really have that killing potential and you also don't have the mix either. So once again, Udonna kind of suffers a little bit in that category. And as I mentioned before, Udonna is going to be one of those characters where she dumps all the meter into her attempt to kill. But unfortunately, she just kind of lacks in that killing potential a little bit. So once again, we have Udonna right here at the top of A tier. I kind of feel like she's like the gatekeeper for anyone who actually goes up here, at least for me, into the really good character and beyond slot. Moving on to Gia, the Yellow Pirate Ranger. So I'm actually going to have Gia right here at the bottom of A tier. Let's go ahead and start talking about Gia. Now, normals wise, I think that Gia, being a more long-range fighter, has some fantastic normals to choose from. I think that her standing medium auto combo, at least the first 2 shots, are fantastic hits from the neutral starting position. And the best part about it is that you can't actually see the hitbox, so if your opponent doesn't know the range, they'll get popped by it all the time. And then you can just confirm into combo, from there. So I think standing medium is fantastic. I think that back medium is fantastic. I feel like those couple of moves are kind of like the heart of her neutral from the neutral starting position, because she gets great screen control from it, just going like pop pop and then just going like pop pop with medium, back medium, 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 medium. Like, I think that they are great normals. She has standing heavy, which has great range to it as well. So I think she definitely has some very good buttons on the ground. She's got an overhead that covers good range that she can combo from by linking into a standing light. So I would probably give her buttons probably a 4. And then even though her air special isn't really a normal, I feel like it kind of counts, at least just a little bit. So I would probably give her normal options a 4. As far as her toolkit is concerned, her toolkit is very interesting. So if we're talking her special moves, the main ones that you're going to be using are going to be her back special, which is her tether, and you're going to be using her air special, which basically she just kind of does a long range poke at you where she slings the tether down at you when she's in the air. Because of this, like some other characters like Udonna, she really doesn't have to commit when she's going on a jump, and you can't like anti-air her from like all the way on the other side of the screen when she does air special. So that makes her kind of unique in that situation. She can kind of, oppress you a little bit, and then when she does go for those jump-ins that are a little closer to you, because you're in your head like, oh my goodness, I can't anti-air from this far away, when she does get into range, it just might be out of your head, so she can oppress you with closer buttons. Now, outside of that, her tether is very interesting because in addition to being like a long-range projectile-ish type move, my jury still has to whether it's actually a projectile or not. The other thing about it is that if you press the special button again, she'll actually tether in closer to you, and you can actually go for mix from there. So in addition to having long-range options, she actually has close-up options as well. She has the overhead, but the caveat to that is that it's supposed to be unsafe. I have not been able to punish it, but like everybody and their mother tells me, yo, this move's unsafe. All you have to do is just mash her out. I have not been able to do that, so as far as I'm aware, it's at least relatively safe until I actually like go and test it more. But you can go into overhead, you can go into her throw, and she has good throw game. She can combo off of both of her throws, so good throw game. She's got an overhead. She can go for a jump in cross up, because after you tether, you can just go up and forward, and it's almost like a dash jump. So it's very interesting in that regard as well. One of her more niche tools that I don't see like a whole bunch is her neutral special, which goes from a low into an overhead. In combination with other characters, you can go for like high-low setups for unblockable situations. So Gia has some pretty good tools, I think. Let's talk about her mobility. Her mobility, she doesn't have like a whole lot of mobility options, but speed-wise, I think she's definitely a 3, along with people like Udonna and Mastadon Sentry. She has a good attack dash, I think. She has a good wave dash, and she can get across the screen as quick as she needs to. Especially like with her tether as well. Her tether also helps her get across the screen pretty quickly and establish pressure on the opponent if she feels that she needs to. So definitely pretty decent in the speed department. And then as far as mix-up options, she has some good mix-up options. She's got her overhead that she can combo from. Once again, both throws. She's got good cross-ups, all that kind of stuff. So she's not a mixed monster, but she definitely has some mix-up options. She can mix you up if she really needs to. Let's talk about her versatility. Now, I haven't really spent a whole lot of time playing with Gia, so I really don't know how well she does as a support character. I will say that. I definitely think that she does well as a point character, just because you can use the assist as she tethers in to keep her safe, because either she'll get hit by the assist on the way in if they try to punish her, or it'll just help you continue pressure and just make your overhead throw mix-ups and stuff like that even more viable for her. So I definitely think that her best place is on point. Her assist is okay for like lockdown or for pressure. So I'm not going to say she doesn't play well with others, but I think that there are others who play well with others better than she does. But I would say her assist is kind of meh. Once again, still to play around with her a little bit. And as an anchor character, I'm taking into account the fact that people tell me that the tether is unsafe. If it is truly unsafe, then I would not want her as an anchor character, because the heart of her pressure, outside of like the long range confirms, is on block, you're going to tether in, right? And when you tether in, you're going to go for a low, a throw, an overhead, like something like that. And if you can't reliably do that because you get poked out, then it means that her neutral game kind of suffers. So I think point character, arguably support, is the best place for Gia. Now, execution wise, Gia, same thing. I'd probably give her a 3.5, but as opposed to with who was it? Who was I talking about last? Trini. As opposed to Trini, where I feel like Trini's combo structure is like a 3 and her neutral is a 3.5. I think that Gia is actually reversed. I think that her combo structure is a little bit more difficult than her neutral, because her neutral is literally jump air special, medium medium, back medium medium, tether. And that's pretty much, and standing heavy. And that's pretty much all you do. There's really no huge variation on that. It's just like when you're in that mid-range, long-range situation, that's what you do. And then when you hit somebody with it, you confirm tether and you go into full combo. Now, doing her tether combos, I do think takes a little bit of effort. So once again, I put her at a 3.5 as far as her combo structure. Potential-wise, I think that her potential is very middle of the road. I've definitely seen my fair amount of Gia combos, and I definitely think that with her tether in combination with assist, you have like a whole bevy of mix-up options that you can do on your opponent, and how creative you are with those mix-up, I think is where her potential shines through. But she's not going to be able to do like a whole billion things. So I think that her potential is very middle of the road. Let's talk about her damage. This is probably a large reason why I actually have her at the bottom of A tier. It's not because of her conversions. She definitely has the confirms. Forward throw, back throw, EX, standing medium, back medium. Like if she pops you with the second shot of back medium, which is part of her auto combo, it puts you into the air, and then you just tether in from not full screen, but like long range, you go into full combo. So she has, in that regard, easy combo confirms. So yeah, combo confirms for days. That's not an issue for Gia. Where Gia, in my experience, struggles is in her damage. The best Gia combo I can do, I can't get above 900. So while Gia can get those mix-up options, while she can very practically open you up, I feel like she struggles in the damage department. I don't know if that is a juggle scaling thing. I don't know if her damage is truly that low, or it might be I'm just like a horrible, unoptimizing person. But in my experience, even when I dump all the meter into it, she really struggles in the damage department. And I think that's kind of what holds her back the most. But I think that her solid neutral and just the bevy of ways that she can hit you and how easy her combo confirms can be, in combination with the fact that she isn't like the highest execution character, decent mobility, among other things like that, I think that definitely makes her at least a solid character. If I did anything for her, I think her toolkit is fine, but if they could like buff her damage somewhere, I definitely think that would put her, if not higher in A tier. I honestly want Gia to be up here in like A+, just because I feel like she has so many things going from her, but I think that's just that damage that kind of holds her back. Moving on to the next character, let us talk about the Zedd. Zedd is a really good character. Zedd's probably one of my favorite characters just because of how unique he is. That's like the one trend with Zedd. He's very unique, and because of how unique he is compared to how everybody else in the cast operates, that's why I really, really like him as far as conception of a character. Let's go ahead and talk about Zedd's toolset. So, first of all, talking about Zedd normals. Zedd normals are a 5. Have you seen standing heavy? I mean, I personally like crouching medium better than his crouching heavy as far as, you know, its utility going into like his standing heavy, all that kind of stuff. But have you seen standing heavy? Have you seen his forward heavy? Like, those normals almost reach, it feels like, the entire way across the screen. So because of that alone, I would give Zedd's normals a 5. His aerial normals are okay. Not my favorite. They're okay, but when it comes to Zedd normals, crouching medium, standing heavy, a lot of standing heavy, and forward heavy are some pretty good options for Zedd. Let's talk about Zedd's overall toolkit. Once again, Zedd is very unique in everything that he does. No move, at least that I feel, barring his command grab, we'll talk about that in a second, or command grab super. No specific tool that Zedd has is like really, really good or like really oppressive. They're all just very unique in like their application. Zedd's putty, his forward special, it's a basic projectile. It's a pretty decent basic projectile. You know, it recovers quickly, so you don't have to worry about your opponent punishing you as much, but you know, it's nothing special, but it's a surfaceable projectile. His homing blast, his neutral special, are a very interesting projectile because in combination with his putties and other, you know, good assists to help you give control of the screen, it gives Zedd, in combination with his long-range normals, good control of the screen. My personal favorite thing about his homing blasts are in combos, but definitely for setups. So if you get a hard knockdown on your opponent, you set up the homing blast, and you dash over to the other side with Zedd, go for an overhead, go for a low, like, you know, just, it's a very interesting move. Back special, when you're online with Zedd and you get the Captain Corridor, is a fantastic like anti-air tool, which leads into full combo, which is another really good tool for Zedd. But once again, they're all very practical. They're all very niche. They all have these very interesting situations, but none of them are like super duper good. Until we talk about his command grab. Zedd's command grab super is kind of ridiculous, and how you fight Zedd, you really have to be aware of Zedd's meter, and this is why. So Zedd, when you're fighting against Zedd, if you are like zoning, or if you have some good assist, you have a pretty good, you know, control of the screen. Pretty reliable, good control of the screen, and you have until Zedd gets to about 2 meters in order to figure out what to do with Zedd. When Zedd gets 2 meters, the entire game plan changes. Once again, in my experience. So when Zedd gets 2 meters, if you are just on autopilot and you are zoning him, if he sees you start up, or if you just look at him funny, he will snap his fingers and you'll eat a command grab super, and then you will proceed to die. This is a very scary thing, because here's the thing. Zedd has long-range normals. He has very long-range normals. And at the heart of Zedd's game plan, there's a reason why I call him push block standing heavy, the character. At a very rudimentary level, and I'm not saying that like the best Zedd players, but at a very rudimentary level, the only thing you really have to do with Zedd is wait for your opponent to approach you, let them hit you while you're blocking, and then you push block them like as soon as you get a chance to, wham, standing heavy. A lot of other characters, they have to dash up. They have to be aware of other things. They have to dash up in order to attempt to punish their opponent, but because Zedd doesn't have to commit, so to speak, whenever he push blocks somebody, he literally stands in one place, out of the way of whatever your next button may be, out of the way of the system. He goes just like whap, standing heavy, prepare to die. And this only becomes accentuated when he has 2 meters, because when he has 2 meters, if you know the matchup, unless you have a character who can zone from the air, like a Mastadon Sentry or a Udonna or something like that, then you can't reliably throw projectiles at him. You actually have to approach him and attempt to get a hit on him. When that happens, he will push block you and you'll eat a standing heavy for your trouble. Even characters like Ranger Slayer, let's say I'm trying to zone out Zedd on the ground, I'm trying to bait him or something like that because I think I can jump out of the way of his command grab. I shoot him with an arrow. As soon as he sees me start up, like with Ranger Slayer, he can snap his fingers and then, you know, that's my life. So his command grab super is really, really good. Let's talk about Zedd's movement. Zedd his movement, I'd probably give him like a 2. He doesn't like have a whole lot of movement options, but part of this is just kind of like how the way his dash works. Zedd's dash works like no other character in the cast. He's the only character in the cast who cannot wave dash. He's the only character in the cast who cannot actually cancel attacks out of his dash. But what he gets in place of that is a dash that works like a teleport, where if you're close enough to your opponent, he will cross through to the other side of them, and in the middle portions of his dash, so excluding the startup and like the recovery of his dash, in the middle when he disappears, he's fully invincible to everything. Supers, projectiles, physical hits. I don't know if he's invincible to throw, but the point is, because he gets that trade-off, and it sets him for some very unique situations. So inherently speed-wise, he's a 2, but it's very unique in Zedd's case. And as far as mix, because Zedd has this teleport, Zedd has some pretty crazy mix options in combination with assists, and especially off of hard knockdown situations. Zedd's light auto combo, even though the first hit is a high, it does lead into an overhead. Off a hard knockdown, you can set up the blast, dash over to the other side of your opponent, go for an overhead, go for a low, you can, fake it. He gets combos off of his grab, so you have to worry about grab as well. So in the mixed department, Zedd is no slouch. You can get mixed by a Zedd something fierce. Let's talk about Zedd's versatility, and subsequently, does Zedd play well with others? His assist is niche. It's an anti-air assist like Drakkon's. I think it's a better anti-air assist than Drakkon's is. So I'm not going to say that he doesn't play well with others. It's just his assist has a very niche situation that you use it for. As far as Zedd's versatility, I think Zedd is very versatile. I think that Zedd is best as a point character when he has assists to back him, because the nature of his long-range normals and his putties and his homing blast means that he lends himself well to playing a more zony defensive style, once again in my opinion, where he doesn't really have to commit. And then when he has good assists behind him, like Gen Missiles or Mastadon Sentry Blast, anything like that, you can start to do like a mix-up game with him where you start to incorporate his dash, go for overhead low, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So I think Zedd is best as a point character. Once again, as a support character, I think that his assist is kind of niche, so I wouldn't put him there. As an anchor character, Zedd can get by. He has enough tools as far as mix, good normals, and decent zoning tools where he can be a decent standalone character, but I think as a point character is truthfully where Zedd is going to shine. Now, as far as Zedd's execution, I would probably put Zedd at a solid 4 across the board as far as his neutral and his combos. Zedd combos, so even the Zedd combos I do take a little bit of effort, but like I've seen some crazy Zedd combos and they are not easy to do. But if you can do those Zedd combos, Zedd is definitely going to make you dead pretty darn quick. I think his neutral takes a little bit more effort. Getting used to calling putties, like when you see somebody block your standing heavy. Standing heavy, you don't want to whiff a standing heavy because he has so much recovery time on it that if you don't have something to back it against, then you will get bopped for your troubles. Getting used to the fact that Zedd dashes through an opponent, where you can dash up to an opponent usually and like, you know, you can kind of push against them, so to speak, for certain setups, but like let's say that you do like a standing heavy or you want to dash a little bit closer. If you're within the range, you'll cross up and you'll actually end up crossing yourself up and confusing yourself. So getting used to Zedd's movement takes a little bit of effort. Zedd's zoning is not super straightforward, so mixing up your putties and your projectiles with your assists and your normals actually takes a little bit of effort. So Zedd for me is a solid 4 across the board as far as his execution, but similar to other characters like Dai Shi or like Shadow Ranger, his potential as far as his mix, as far as what you can use the homing blast for, his combos, like all of his niche tools are very sandboxy, I feel like, in their nature, and they just let your imagination, I think, run wild with the assortment of things that you can do with his tool set. So I definitely say his potential is a 5. Let's talk about Zedd's killing potential. Zedd can get that damage. I can't get the damage that I see other people do, like you see Uchi do Zedd combos, my homie Carlito, his Zedd combos. I can't do those combos, but not only are they swag is like all get out to look at, but Zedd can, like, he can extend and he can really get that damage. I think he has one of the highest damaging EXs in the game, and I think and then like with the homing blast, you can convert off of that as well. Like Zedd gets crazy damage, and for the amount of resources he has to put into it, Zedd does not have to put like a whole lot into his killing potential, but it definitely takes that execution. So Zedd, I think, is a fantastic character all around, and that's why I have him in the A+ tier. Alright, moving on to the Season 3 characters, or as I call it, the Season S characters. The first up, we have Lauren Shiba. So I think that Lauren Shiba is still, even after the nerfs, a S tier character. Let's go ahead and start talking about her. So let's talk about her normals. Most people consider Lauren's standing heavy, making her basically like a mini Zedd. You can use it for a lot of the same things with Zedd. If you're an ill-timed, like, you know, you can push block your opponent standing heavy, you know, at the right range. You're not going to get as much range as Zedd, but you can still do that. It's a great whip punishing tool if your opponent is not aware of, you know, the range of the move. But I personally think that her standing medium is probably her better button. It hits from the neutral starting position, and it goes into her standing heavy, which goes into a stagger state if you do the heavy auto combo, which you can proceed to go full combo with. All of her aerial normals are fantastic, just like Goldar's. Air Light can be a super active, super ambiguous cross-up. I think that Air Medium is a fantastic jump-in, and of course the most obvious one we have are Air Heavy, which not only is a good cross-up, but the fact that she does a small, like another like leap kind of in the air when she does it means that anti-airing her is just all the more difficult while she's oppressing you with this move. So this in combination with her mobility, which we'll talk about a little bit later, means that all of her aerial buttons are fantastic. So for me, she gets like a 4.5 for her normals because she just has so many viable ones. Even her more niche ones, like her command normals where she reflects projectiles or the overhead, are still really good options. We're actually going to talk about Lauren's mobility first. Lauren gets a 5. Once again, her mobility, Shadow Ranger's mobility, and then we'll talk about another character's mobility. These are some of the fastest characters in the game. I think Lauren is the fastest character in the game, mostly because of how easy it is to get to that speed with her. Literally, all you do is tap forward twice, hold forward, and she will just book it like across the screen, like so quick. That in combination with good range normals and her double jump, which we'll talk about in a second, means that her movement options are fantastic. So she gets a 5 for her movement speed, her movement options, her double jump, and her dash jump. Her dash jump is very unique because it's more like a hop, which means that you can actually do her air normals very low to the ground. And that in combination with her double jump means that she can just oppress you with, overhead after overhead. She can do air light, heavy, double jump, air light, heavy, air medium, heavy, just, anything like that, just the way you can mix them up. So she can definitely oppress you with her aerial normals. And the fact she has that double jump, being able to double jump back, forward, the fact that she can go for normals then double jump, or she can go for a jump then do the double jump and go for normals, just means that she can attack you in the air from so many, different angles. So her mobility is fantastic. And because of that, her mix is fantastic too. She has lows, she has overheads, she can whip punish, she can combo off her throw, she can oppress you with aerial buttons. Her mix is definitely there. Now that all that's out of the way, let's actually talk about her other tools. So in addition to her double jump, her most important tools are going to be 2 things. Still her flame carpet. Her flame carpet is still good. We'll talk about that in a second. And it's going to be her butterflies, which are basically like mini hidden missiles. So if you do special and then you do forward special, and you do forward special out of that, then she'll stick her sword on the ground and you'll get butterflies. The butterflies will follow you no matter where you go. So they kind of act like cover for you, even though it takes a bit of startup. If you're in a favorable matchup where you can do that, or you have assists covering you, you can call the butterflies and run in there with the butterflies and go for mix or go for stagger pressure, all manner of things like that. The flame carpet, even after the nerfs, is still good. They shrunk the hitbox, 1 less butterfly pops out whenever you actually hit the carpet travels faster, it only hits once, but it's still good. It's still good. Like, because of how fast she is, she can still confirm off of it. If it hits, it still covers a good portion of the screen because you don't have to hit the flame carpet at your opponent. You can just let it sit there in the middle of the screen, and that's just 1 less place your opponent can go, because if they land in it, they'll either get hit by it, they'll have to block it, something like that. Flame carpet is still good. Now, her other tools are interesting, but they're more niche. They're not like the most fantastic. She has like a reflect, which goes into her stance, which I think is really, really neat. You can use it to reflect projectiles. You can use it to just get out of the way of hits because it has some invincibility. I think it's really neat stuff. I think the flame corridor actually needs a buff. What? Lauren buffs? Are you kidding? Yeah, the flame carpet, the flame corridor needs a buff because here's the thing. I think that they need to give flame corridor launcher properties, and this is why. The flame corridor is supposed to be an anti-air. If I see my opponent jump in on me, I should get rewarded for making the call to do the flame corridor, and I should be able to get a combo off of that. But if my opponent jumps in and I flame corridor, they can still block in the air, they come down, and I get punished. There's literally no reason for me to use flame corridor as opposed to just using my regular launcher, where whether my opponent's doing anything or not, if they jump, I can hit them with the launcher and I get full combo. So I think the flame corridor kind of needs some help in that regard. And then of course, my favorite thing about Lauren, which is really good for her pressure, and that is her stance cancel pressure. I think this is highly underutilized, mostly because a lot of people don't have to do it, but I think it's kind of where she's more fun in her neutral. Stance cancel pressure, it definitely helps out her mix. It's just another way that she can mix you, because she can mix you in the air with all the oppressive overheads. She can mix you on the ground by doing like standing medium heavy, stance cancel, heavy, stance cancel. She can do standing medium, stance cancel, jump, standing medium, stance cancel, run up throw, just like all these assorted things. Medium heavy, stance cancel, and overhead, you know, just whatever. I would love to see people use it more, but I think it's a fantastic tool for her. So as far as her tools, she definitely has a lot to choose from, which just kind of makes all of her other attributes as far as her neutral, as far as her mobility mix really, really good. Let's talk about Lauren and her versatility and her ability to play well with others. Now, Lauren's assist it's a good assist. It's not like a great assist, but it's still pretty good because it's basically like mini hidden missiles. She'll do the butterflies, right? And I mean, the butterflies are good, but hidden missiles are just better. The stagger pressure is better. Jen calls the missiles out sooner, which is kind of like why it's like mini hidden missiles. So she's like somewhere in the middle, maybe slightly above average as far as how I think good her assist is. Where I think Lauren does best is as a point character. Putting her with a good assist to take advantage of her speed and her oppressive overheads, or her oppressive jump-ins rather, I think is where Lauren truly, truly shines. She is an okay like secondary character, like support character, and she's an okay anchor character. She definitely has the normal tools to make her a viable standalone character, but she kind of lacks a little bit in those long to full screen engagements against other characters who have better screen control, your Udonnas, your Mastadon Sentries. Even against a character like Kimmy, she's going to struggle a little bit to actually fight for that control of the neutral. Even if she does have the counter state to reflect projectiles, she's still going to struggle a little bit there. So my recommendation, put her on point. Now, as far as her ease of use, Lauren's not an easy character to use. I mean, she has easy things about her, for sure. She's a high damaging character, so if you want to stick to just like a couple of things, getting used to like her jump in, taking advantage of her good normal, standing medium, standing heavy, that kind of stuff, going for simple combos, you can definitely do that. But a player at her, not even her most effective, but somewhat kind of effective, she takes some effort. Her neutral is not completely brain dead. I think that you have to get used to stance cancel pressure with her in order to really take advantage of her pressure in her mix-up game. You really have to be aware of her ranges for her standing medium and standing heavy. And then you also have to be aware of how close you are to your opponent, because in addition to doing stance cancels, you can also do her back special stance cancel. You can go special into butterflies or back stance cancel, set a flame carpet. Like, there are a lot of things you kind of have to micromanage with Lauren in order to play her effectively. So for that, I would give her like a 4 if we're talking like to get like really good with her. Base value, she's like a 3 if you just want to get some basics down with her. But I think if you want to play her at close to what her best could be, then you would probably she'd probably be a 4. Now, potential-wise, I think her potential is very high. Like, lots of different combo routes, lots of different ways she can mix you up. The stance cancel pressure, I really feel like these are all areas where if you put the time in the Lauren, she will definitely shine through. When you put her with a good assist, then it's kind of over, in my opinion, as far as that. Let's talk about damage. Even after the nerf, Lawrence can still get that damage. She's not like, her damage is not as dumb as it used to be, right? Like, the hits they made to Flame Carpet, the hits they made to her standing medium, increasing the juggle penalty on that means that is that much less hits that you are getting with her. The nerf to her super, all that stuff means that it's a little bit harder to get that damage, but she can still kill. She just now has to dump all the resources into it in order to get that kill. At least in my experience. Once again, your guys' experience might be different. Maybe you'll be able to kill with 1 bar for her still, and she'll still be like the toppest tierist. I don't know. But in my experience, with the changes that they made, mostly to her standing medium, because that's like 4 less hits than I could get with her in her combo before I go into EX, means that she struggles a little bit more to get that kill, but she will still get that kill. As far as her conversions, she has the conversions. She can combo off a forward throw. She can combo off a back throw, I think, with the help of assist, because you can do like Flame Corridor, right? But I don't know what other options you have to pick up after that as well. But I definitely know she can convert off a forward throw. She can convert off of super. It's hard, but you can convert off of super. You're going to convert off of standing heavy, and then she has the myriad of jump-ins that she has. So she definitely has good conversion options. So because of all those reasons, I have her in my top 3. At least I think so before I add like everybody else. She is in my top 3. She still gets that damage. She has really good neutral options, fantastic pressure, speed, mix, plays well with decently well with other characters, and as a point character, I think she is one of the best. All right, moving on to public enemy number 1, Ungus McBungus Ranger, and that is going to be RJ. So I can't remember whether I originally wanted to have RJ being like somewhere here or being here, but I think I'm going to, for now, still put him as being a broken character after the damage nerfs. I will explain why once I get there. Let's talk about RJ's normals. RJ still has good normals. Like, his normals still fundamentally break, like, the structure of how Power Rangers works. Like, how much more do I need to talk about Standing Light? Aside from saying, like, crouching medium is a good button for him. I think all of his other buttons are actually kind of middle, or kind of middle of the road, but he does have a good button in his slide. Standing Light breaks the game with canceling auto combos, like, you know, fish from overhead from like 2/3 the screen away. His jump ins are kind of like average, so as far as his buttons, like, truthfully, I would give him like a 3.5. He has the one good button, like, you can fish from with the neutral in his crouching medium. His Standing Light stuff, that's more like combo structure stuff and just like salt, but I'd probably say his normals are like a 3.5 for me. Let's go ahead and talk about RJ's tools. Once again, RJ will always be a good character just because his tools allow him to play his own game. He doesn't have to play by the rules of Power Rangers. He's the only character in the game with canceling auto combos. He's the only character, as far as I'm aware, in the game that has a multi-hitting Standing Light where you can cancel the first hit to something else, so it completely breaks the combo structure of the game. He's the only character in the game that has a move that completely ignores projectiles, so if he doesn't want to deal with them, he doesn't have to. And then when he has his cuffs charged, then if you look at him funny, he's just going to do an ignition knuckle across the screen. He's going to kill, and then he's going to hit 2 of your characters and he's going to kill them. He just doesn't have to play the rules of the game. And because of that, his tools are good. He's got a nice basic projectile in the form of his Wolf Wheel and the Wolf Wheel Alpha. You can chuck the ring, or you can do the ring where it like bounces in the ground and goes up. So it's a serviceable projectile. So he at least has something that he can combat with from full screen. It has good projectile durability. And at its very worst, it's safe from full screen, and at its best, you'll get a hard knockdown. You can get full combo from it, depending on where you are on the screen with RJ. So, for a surface projectile, I do not think that his knee crush crosses up anymore. They slowed the speed of it, and they decreased the angle from it. I think that was to tackle the fact that it was difficult to anti-air and the fact that it could cross up. I'm not entirely sure. But they nerfed that, and I think they nerfed the subsequent follow-up as well in some way, shape, or form, but you can still just use it with assists, and you can still be as oppressive, you know, as ever with it. So RJ will still be, I think, at least a top 10 character just because his tool set will always be that good, in my opinion. Let's talk about RJ's mobility. RJ, I'd probably give him like a 3.5 to a 4 as far as his mobility. His knee crush can alter his air mobility, making him more difficult to anti-air. On the ground, as far as like the distance that his dash covers, his dash probably covers the most amount of space in the game. I cannot attack dash with him quickly. I know people who can blink dash with him or something like that, and which makes his movement very, very effective. I can't do it. So for me, for just average guy, I'm gonna say that his movement is like a 3.5. As far as his mix, have I talked about the overheads from like 2/3 the screen away? He can combo off of both of his throws. Like he can combo off back throw. You can throw them into the corner, I believe. And he can combo off a forward throw. So you always have to worry about those high-low situations as well with him. So RJ definitely has that mix, which just gets even scarier when you have assist behind it. Let's talk about RJ's versatility on a team, and also, does he play well with others? So RJ's assist, base value assist, is meh, and I would say that he doesn't play that well with others. However, RJ can charge his cuffs, and when he does charge his cuffs and he goes off the screen as a support character, his assist becomes the ignition knuckle, and he plays very well with others in that situation, because what's going to happen is you can use ignition knuckle and you will still maintain ignition knuckle until you tag him in. You will use the ignition knuckle to either snipe other people's assists, and because it basically goes full screen, it's very fast, and it's still projectile invincible, you can use it to tag assist, tag into him, do an easy OTG with his crouching medium, and you're going full combo from there. Whether you have your point character up front with him or whether you tag into him, his assist becomes amazing. It becomes so good. It's like a 5, like a 4.5 or like a 5 when you actually charge those cuffs, but his base assist is probably like a 2 or something like that. So RJ can or cannot play well with others, depending on whether you charge those cuffs or not. As far as RJ's versatility, I think RJ does best as a point character. He can do well as a support character after you charge his cuffs, but I think RJ is best as a point character, using other characters' assists in order to take advantage of his bullying style moves like the whiff canceling auto combos, the overheads, and yada yada yada. I think that is where RJ does best. As an anchor character, he is okay. He has the basic projectile, so he can fight from full screen. He's got some decent normals and some safe strings, so he can fight on his own, I think, but I don't think he's the most effective character in that regard. Now, as far as RJ's execution, neutral-wise, RJ's pretty straightforward. You mash your face against the controller and things just happen and you win. But it actually, you know, when RJ first came on the scene, I kind of thought of him a lot like a Shoto style character. Ryu, a lot of the Shotos, they're all about low forward fireball, right? And that's kind of how I play RJ. I'm very tactical with him. Like, I'm very much committed to like the low forward fireball as a safe string and like a confirm. And then strategically, like when I have my assist out, that's when I might actually start going for like, you know, his mix and stuff like that, start throwing in some overheads that can come from assorted things like that. Because of that, I would say that RJ's game plan isn't like super straightforward. So as far as his ease of use, I'd probably say he's middle of the road. He's probably like a 3. It does take a little bit of time to get used to those block strings. Really, so I'd probably say he's like a 3. Combo wise, in order to maximize RJ's combo damage, I'd probably say his execution is now like a 4.5, because it actually is really tough in order to actually get those links consistently now, because he really needs that in order to boost his damage potential. Also, one difficult thing is when you actually get a hit with the ring, when you get the hard knockdown off the ring, it actually is tough to time dashing over to your opponent to hit them with the crouching medium and then going to standing heavy before they actually get up. That's actually a pretty difficult thing to do. So in order to maximize RJ's combo damage, I'd probably say like 4.5. But if you just want to do like a basic combo with him, he's like a 3. You can just take him to the corner, and then once you get to the corner, you can really just launcher them over and over again, and then just do medium auto combo. Really simple stuff for still effective damage. Now, let us talk about RJ's damage, because that was like the big thing that got hit for him. Now, I've been told by multiple people that RJ can still kill. Like, you know, no person, like, he still has all these crazy combos and he can still kill and yada yada yada, and that's partially why I still have him up here in the S broken tier. Mostly because of word of mouth. People are telling me RJ can still kill. I have not been able to kill with him, but everybody and their mother's telling me that RJ can still kill. So if RJ can still kill, I will take your word for it, and I will account that with, you know, the rest of the stuff that he has. As far as RJ's conversions, he has a lot of stuff that he can convert from. Forward throw, back throw, EX, just, you know, knees, ignition knuckle. Like, he has a lot of options that he can confirm from. And he can still get that damage, so I've been told. In my personal experience, yes, he still has killing potential. He can still get above 900. It just takes a lot more execution, and you now have to dump all the meter into it. I would love to see those RJ combos where he's still going ham and not needing to use as much meter to kill. Please let me know. You know, if you have a link to that somewhere, please let me know. I'd love to see it. But yeah, so that is pretty much RJ. RJ, he will always be good because a lot of tools he has just fundamentally ignore the rules of the game. Good mix, decent synergy with teams if you get Ignition Knuckle online, and he can still get that damage. Last but not least, we have Scsporina. And I think I'm going to put Scsporina right up here. Also in the S tier. Because at the end of the day, if Scsporina has one bar, she can either EX you, or she can back throw you. She'll build that bar back throughout her combo, and you will die. Let's go ahead and talk about Scsporina's options. Also, I'm gonna finish moving all this stuff around once I actually add the other characters in, because I actually can't remember the exact spots I had people in when I was finished with this, so just bear with me, and we'll make the adjustments afterwards. Let's go ahead and start talking about Scsporina and her normals. Now, Scsporina doesn't really have a whole lot of good normals. She probably has 3 good normals that I can think of that she has to work with, and that is, obviously, one of them is going to be her Air Heavy. Air Heavy is a very ambiguous cross-up, and in combination with the way that her dash jump works, where it's more like a hop, it is really good. It's probably her best normal. She has Air Light. Air Light is actually a good normal too. It leads to, you know, some awesome tick grab setups that you can do with her, and Scsporina's throw game is very good because she can combo off of her forward throw and her back throw. And then we have her Crouching Light. Her Crouching Light is a good button. It has good range for a Crouching Light. It's not particularly fast, but it has good range. But unfortunately, the big problem with that is her Crouching Medium. Her Crouching Medium is unreasonably stubby for a medium button. I think she needs the Movie Blue treatment in this regard, where she needs it to advance her forward a little bit, just that she can do it in combo and block string. Nothing is more disappointing than when I do a Crouching Light against somebody, and then I try to do Crouching Medium for the combo, and it just whiffs, and it's just like, wow, that is disappointing. So yeah, because of that, I probably give Scsporina's normals somewhere between a 2.5 and a 3. She has a couple of good ones to choose from, but she also has some pretty bad ones, and the rest of them are kind of just like meh. Moving into the rest of her tool set. So Scsporina's options as far as her tools, they're 2 kind of, well, yeah, they're 2 big ones that we actually need to talk about, and then one other one we'll talk about as well. So her best tools are going to be her EX, number 1. That's why, you know, hashtag the only option, because it almost feels like Scsporina's neutral literally devolves into wait for a chance for your opponent to whiff something so you can punish them with EX, or if they try to get 2 buttons with you, you punish them with EX. And the thing is, if Scsporina hits you with the EX, you will die. Like, she will wipe out your entire character if she actually hits you with an EX. It's actually pretty crazy stuff. So that is by far her best tool. Like, it has really good range, and if she is like on the opposite side of the screen, then it's really hard to actually, you know, punish her. So great range, you know, great hit confirmability because it leads them in a stun state, so it's really easy to combo afterwards. And then we have Sex Storm. Sex Storm is probably her best neutral option that isn't a normal button, because from about the long range to mid range, where Scsporina likes to be, she actually has some pretty good control with the Sex Storm, her air special. So those are probably her best options. The rest of her options are either meh or they're just okay. From long range, her Nox Mine is actually not bad. It tracks to the opponent. You can throw out multiples, like, you know, at a pretty quick pace, and that in combination with other assists that have good screen coverage means that she has some decent, you know, zoning potential. And of course, that poison damage is a large part of why her damage is so ridiculous. Outside of that, that's kind of where Scsporina's good neutral options kind of stop. Now, because of this, there's a common misconception that Scsporina has bad neutral. She doesn't have bad neutral. What she has is bad pressure. The problem with Scsporina is that she specifically, in my experience, needs to fight from one spot specifically, and that is the mid-range, basically the neutral starting position. From there, those are where her best tools are. See Sex Storm, see Air Light, see Air Heavy. All of her best options come from there. The problem is when she gets close to the opponent, she has no options to work with. So she's super reliant on assists in order to plug those gaps. Because here's the thing, her forward special, her boomerang toss, it's a high. So against most of the casts where you're crouch blocking it, it'll whiff right over their head so they can punish you. Her Nox Mine is interesting because, I mean, if your opponent hits you, the Scorpion still pops out so you can hit you that way. But if your opponent has like a throw or an EX they can combo from, then they can't do anything. And that's defeating the purpose that the Nox Mine is actually slow as well, so it's not a true block string. And then, of course, the other one being her Spinnerooski, the back special, it's slow. You can just whack her out of it. She used to have an unblockable follow-up from it, but now the move is essentially completely dead outside of combo filler. You can use it to reflect projectiles in some situations, but you're not really going to use it as like an anti-zoning tool for the most part. It's mostly just combo filler. So Scsporina doesn't really have a whole lot of I guess pressure options to work with, which is where she kind of suffers as a character. If you're not in that mid-range, then you really have no options, and everything as far as her pressure is about getting back to that mid-range so she can actually use her best options. Let's talk about Scsporina's mobility. Scsporina's mobility is very interesting. I'd probably say she's a 3.5. She has a great attack dash, and her wave dash is very comparable, and her movement is very interesting because when she does her dash jump, she kind of does like a fly where she kind of goes upwards at an angle really slow, which can lead to some hop style situations where a hop is just kind of like a short jump off the ground, basically. So it can really lead to those instant overhead opportunities with her air heavy, whether it hits from in front or behind, at least to ambiguous situations like that. So that is actually pretty decent. I'd probably give her mobility like a 3.5 overall, just because of how that kind of alters her jump arc and just, you know, the things that she can do with that. So let's go ahead and move into Scsporina's synergy. Where does she fit best on a team? And subsequently, does Scsporina play well with others? Scsporina plays very well with others. I think she probably has the second best assist in the game. It's basically kind of like her EX, where a couple of scorpion tails will pop out of the ground. It comes out quick, it tracks to the opponent, and it hits them so high up in the air that you have all the time in the world to like, you know, do a combo follow-up. So it's very good in that regard. So it's a fantastic assist. It's great for pressure, it is great for zoning, all that kind of stuff. Because of that, I think Scsporina fits best as a support character. It's easy for her to come in after somebody gets started with better neutral tools, to come in and clean up, since she is such a damage machine. On point, she can do okay on point, but once again, just because of her lack of pressure and like her just kind of like okay-ish neutral tools, I don't think she does she needs like too much help from assists, and then as an anchor, she is not the character you want as an anchor character. So I would put her at the number 2 slot almost all the time. Now, as far as Scsporina's execution, I think Scsporina is anywhere from like a 3 to a 3.5 as far as her execution. Even her most execution-heavy combos, I don't think are particularly difficult. Her neutral actually takes more effort, I think, than her combos do, just to actually get used to those block strings where you need to call assist, when you shouldn't be trying to pressure your opponent versus just kind of, you know, staying at the mid-range and looking for those opportunities. That takes a little bit of effort. So I'd probably say her difficulty and whatnot is probably 3.5 overall. Potential, Scsporina has more potential in her damage than she does in her neutral. I'd probably say she's probably like a 3.5 as well. You can do some pretty cool combos with Scsporina that can kill for not a whole lot of resources, but she doesn't have like as crazy potential as like a Zedd or like a Lauren or something like that. Not that she needs to, but it's just something to know. And of course, let's talk about Scsporina's damage, the thing that she is known for. This character can get that damage. She can combo off of a lot of things. Forward throw, back throw, she can combo off of EX. All of those are really, really important things for Scsporina, and they're actually very, very practical. So she definitely has some great conversions. Damage, like her damage relative to the amount of execution to get that damage, it's not very difficult, and you get like a lot of damage. Once again, roughly 3.5 for her combo structure. But yeah, she can get that damage. Like before the patch, you only needed 1 bar in order to kill characters, and that's kind of still the same thing with Scsporina. So she's one of the lowest resource using characters for the amount of damage that she gets. So because of that, I actually have Scsporina up here in the S tier. Alright, so before we move on to our last couple of characters, let's move this around just a smidge. I think I'm actually going to do, like, just have my top 3 characters here and then put the rest in really good. So from there, we're going to have RJ here, and then we're just going to put Scsporina probably like right here. So I'll probably have them like this. So this is currently where we are now. So now the question on everybody's mind, where do Ryu and Chun fit into the mix? All right, so how do I feel about Ryu and Chun? So my sentiments towards Ryu and Chun, I'm actually going to use a Yu-Gi-Oh reference.
青き竜は勝利をもたらす。しかし赤き竜がもたらすものは勝利にあらず可能性なり。ただし戦う勇気がある者だけに。戦う勇気。その可能性を示すカードもどこかにあるはず。巡り合えるかどうかこれも戦う勇気次第さ。レッドアイズ。伝説のカード。
Ryu, to me, in this game, represents the Dragon of Destruction, while Chun-Li represents the Dragon of Potential. See Blue Eyes White Dragon, see Red Eyes Black Dragon. Ryu is not a particularly difficult character to play, like, per traditional Ryu. He's not supposed to be a super technical, super difficult character to play, but what he does give you is just raw power. Like, if you actually do his combos, even like my intermediate combo with him, where I did no special moves or anything like that. All I did was EX and super into it, and I still ended up getting like 900 plus damage. If you actually know how to do combos with Ryu can kill you for 1 bar, and it is pretty ridiculous. So Ryu gives you raw power, right? Chun-Li has the ability to kill you. Like, just like Ryu, she can do like the 1 bar TODs and all of this crazy stuff. But Chun-Li takes a lot more time in order to do those things. She's a lot more execution heavy, and the tools she has available, you just have so much more potential with the types of combos you can do, the ways you can open up your opponent, what you can use her tools for, all that kind of stuff. So when I think about Ryu and Chun, I don't necessarily think of one as being better than the other. I just think of them as kind of being different. It's like, for someone like with Ryu, do you want somebody who has a good assist, fantastic damage, not particularly difficult to learn, he kind of struggles a little bit in the neutral and has a fantastic assist? Or do you want someone like Chun-Li, where Chun-Li's assist isn't as good, she has really good neutral tools, she gets really good damage, lots of mix-up options, lots of things that she can do with her tools, but she requires a lot more execution in order to do those things. But be it that we're doing a tier list, let's go ahead and figure out where I want to put them, and then we'll talk about why. So first, we'll talk about Ryu. So I think that Ryu goes right here for now, right between Scsporina and right between RJ, assuming that RJ can still, kill and stuff like that. So the reason why I have Ryu here, Ryu and Scsporina are actually very similar to each other. They kind of struggle in the neutral, but they hit super, super hard. Like, Ryu, off of a back throw, he can kill you. Off of any hit, he can kill you. These two are very similar. It's just like Scsporina has better mix-up options, but Ryu has better neutral. His crouching medium it's an okay button. This is his best button. His problem actually lies in his standing heavy, where sometimes at max range, if you try to do a crouching medium and you try to cancel that into standing heavy to go combo, it doesn't work sometimes. Very similar, he has a very good assist like Scsporina does, but what Ryu does have is he does have a full screen fireball, and it has some good projectile durability. Because of that alone, Ryu has basically better neutral tools and is a better standalone character, in my opinion, than Scsporina while being able to hit hard, where Scsporina, basically in the mid-range, she has like a little bit of mix. But it's like when Ryu gets close up, he still has mix in addition to having decent neutral tools. He can at least keep himself safe. He's got an overhead that he can combo from. He's got the cross-up Hurricane Kick, the cross-up Tatsu. So he has a couple of mix-up options and stuff like that. And he's just a simpler character to play, and his combos, I think, are actually easier than Scsporina's as well. Barring the fact that you have to do motion inputs and stuff like that, I still think that Ryu's combos are actually easier than Scsporina's to do. So because of that, I kind of put Ryu right here in the middle between RJ and Scsporina. And then last but not least, we have Chun-Li. Chun-Li, I think, goes right here. Yes, I think that Chun-Li, if you put everything into Chun-Li, I think that Chun-Li is a top 3 character for a couple of reasons. Number one, let's talk about her damage. Chun-Li's damage, once you learn how to do her more advanced combos, is insane. Now, when we had SBD Training Academy at the end of May, and, what was his name? Cornflakes? Yeah, Cornflakes. So when Cornflakes was like the premier Chun of like that event, when I saw him do his Chun combos for the first time for like no bar and kill the character, I'm like, what is this character? What are these instant air, these instant air dash combos that he's doing? Like, Chun's ability to kill is just ridiculous. And unlike other characters who can kill really easily, like Scporina or like Ryu, she actually has good neutral to back it up. One of the things that makes Chun-Li so retarded in this game is not just the fact she has an air dash, but the fact that she can jump cancel her standing heavy, which all starts with her crouching medium. I think that her crouching medium is one of the best buttons in the game, like on the ground. Like Jen has some of the best buttons, like Zedd's button is fantastic. I think that her button is really, really good. It's fast, it low profiles high projectiles, goes into her standing heavy, so you can go into pressure, you can go into combos, just all kind of crazy stuff. So Chun-Li has some fantastic neutral tools at her disposal. In combination with her air dash, every single button that she has is a fantastic cross-up. And between her air dash and her wall jump and having the fastest wave dash in the game, her mobility is ridiculous. If Shadow Ranger is the fastest attack dasher, and if Lauren is just the fastest character when you hold forward and run across the screen, then Chun-Li definitely has the fastest wave dash in the game. Now that being said, Chun-Li does kind of struggle when she is like full screen. She does struggle against zoners, but she does have a basic projectile in her Kokoken. She can use EX Bird, which has a lot of projectile durability. It's slow, so she can fall behind it with her amazing speed. And the fact she can do that air dash so close to the ground means that you're going to get caught with like overhead after overhead after overhead, you know, so on and so forth. Assist-wise, Chun-Li plays okay with others. Her assist is decent for lockdown pressure. It's not the most amazing. If it was EX Lightning Legs, then this would be over. Best character in the game as far as I'm concerned. But her, or at least best assist in the game as far as I'm concerned. But her Lightning Legs lead to some good lockdown pressure. I think she is like the point character in this game, and as an anchor character, I think that she does well as an anchor character as well. What else do we need to talk about with Chun-Li here? I think that her execution, I think next to like characters like Dai Shi and Zedd, I think that she has some of the highest execution in this game, but subsequently her potential is through the roof by having gushed about it already. If you put the time into this character, like she will definitely reward you, because base level she has good neutral tools, and if you just learn how to do those crazy mix-ups, man, like you're going to be doing some work with Chun-Li. So because of all those reasons, Chun-Li I definitely think is a top 3 character. Going back to Ryu for a second, because I didn't talk enough about Ryu. Ryu is, I want to specifically talk about his assist. Ryu, he plays very well with others. His assist is really good. I think it might be a top 5 assist. I have to actually think about it a little bit more, but I think he actually might be a top 5 assist. The fact that his Hadoukens have good projectile durability, and the fact that he fires 2 in a staggered fashion, which helps you with lockdown pressure, it helps you with zoning, like it's just a great assist. Ryu definitely needs a little help in the neutral department. He's a little on the slower side, which is okay. He has a good dash jump, and that in combination with Tatsu means that he has some good cross-ups. He is the original Ryu. When people think of Ryus of the game, they're talking about Ryu. Like, Jason and Ryu are very similar in that Ryu is kind of a jack of all trades. He has something for every situation, but he doesn't particularly excel in any one good thing. He's a very fundamental based character where if you have good fundamentals in something, you can succeed with that character, which is just kind of further accentuated by the fact that Ryu gets dumb damage in this game. So, guys, that is it. That is my preliminary tier list for June. Now, once again, I'm going to be doing another one. I'm planning on doing another one at the end of July, just so I have a little bit more time to play around with some of the other characters to see if my opinions change as far as whether they move up or down, or sort of things like that. So, once again, guys, that is it for my tier list. Let me know what you guys think. You're more than welcome to disagree with me. Just please keep it civil. Don't crucify me for my opinions. I'm just a guy who likes playing Power Rangers and whatnot, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, and I highly, highly, highly encourage you to come on to tierlistmaker.com. If you disagree with my list, make your own list, make your own explanations why you think certain characters go where they go. And, you know, that'll do it for me. If you guys made it this far in the video, thank you so much for taking the time to stick with me. If you could check out my social media links, check out my Patreon page, I would really appreciate it. And that'll do it for now. This is Parker Ladd, and I will see you guys next time.